All right, I think we're live. So welcome into another Matt Maran Motoring live stream here on the Matt Maran Motoring YouTube channel. Hope you're all having a great weekend here. Thanks so much for stopping by. Like all the other usual live streams, we're going to go for about 2 hours or so. I'll give priority answering to anyone who does a super chat or a super thanks, as well as anyone who's a member there with the green usernames. They always get that priority answering. If you'd also like that, you can always click the join buttons here on the video page in the description or on the channel page there. And I see you already have Lancewath's gifting memberships. Thank you so much for your generosity, Lancewath. And thanks so much, everyone. Already a bunch of people in here and looking forward to having a great chat here tonight. And thanks, Lancewath, also for being a member for 10 months now. Really appreciate that. And so I see, yeah, Linda's here, Brian, B. Mitchell, Danny, Kevin, Raphael, Kyle, Vishal, Luke, and yeah, a bunch of new names there as well for some of those memberships, which is great. Hopefully, we can have some more people able to join in here tonight. I see maybe Gaming is able to join in here because he's in the stream. I'm glad that YouTube at least gave one person a membership who's actually in the stream here. But yeah, thank you so much for the generosity. And so yeah, first thing here, Lancelot says, my spots for the week are a blue C6 Grand Sport convertible, nice, a yellow Mini Countryman, a red Ram RHO, a silver C6 Z06, a red Chevy Chevelle SS, and a red Porsche 911, and a dark gray Audi R8. Wow, you saw a lot of cool stuff this week. That's awesome. I think my most oddball spot this week was I saw one of the BMW M coupes, the Z3 M coupe, so like the clown shoe car. That was my funny spot of the week here. And also saw a nice little R53 Mini Cooper S convertible too out driving around the other day. And yeah, it's always so nice here when the nice cars start popping up in the warm weather. And let me see. Brian says, good evening. I saw a Corvette C8 and C6 and a BRZ. Very nice. And B. Mitchell said, spot of the week was an 85 Renault Alliance convertible. Wow, that is rare. You've got to give Chrysler credit for partnering with Renault since an Alliance makes a K car look like it had its shit together. That's funny. I was actually just talking to my neighbor tonight, actually, speaking of K cars. His dad had a Dodge Dynasty and said that he loved that car and that it actually treated him really well. Wow, someone has a good thing to say about a K car. So that's kind of funny. You saw a K car, or you saw something, yeah, that's even worse than a K car. That's funny. Yeah, I don't know if I've ever actually seen one that I remember, or if I have, it's been a long time. That's crazy. And Danny says, hello, the Blazer EV loaner we got when our Bolt was at the dealer was brand new. And I say brand new because it had 15 miles on it when my dad brought it home, gave it back with 101 miles, broke it in. Very nice. So hope you guys enjoyed the Blazer. Hopefully the Bolt's all fixed up and all good now. And Danny also says his response are a Mark 6 Jetta hybrid. Wow. And a 96 Nissan D21 hardbody. Very nice. Very, very cool. And good evening to Kevin and Raphael and Kyle as well. And Raphael said, I had a whole line of Japanese tuners come past me yesterday morning. That was cool. Nice. Actually, I was out filming a review yesterday and I saw, I'm not even sure exactly what it was. I think it was a Nissan K car, but I saw a little K car and I was like, holy crap. Because I actually just did another article. It just went live today on Karma, so I forgot to share the link for like cool K cars you should also import. Now that there's more and more of these K car laws coming into effect where you're able to import them and register them. So I've kind of been researching K cars more this week than I usually do. And man, random little side tangent. K cars are dirt cheap. If you even just want affordable transportation, as long as you're okay with something that's slow, like 60 horsepower slow, and obviously not very safe because we're talking about 90s cars that are smaller than Miatas. But if those two things don't bother you, man, they're dirt cheap. Like imported under $5,000 for some of them, like including all the fees and everything. $5,000 at least to get into the port in Baltimore. From there you have to figure it out. But and I think there's other ports available. Obviously you could import it to LA or whatever, but I was looking at like importing it like to Baltimore. I'm not buying one myself, but just looking at what these things were going for, and it was like insanely cheap. So really solid values there. Even if you want like fun little K truck, there's a bunch of those little K trucks that are, again, very, very slow. But if you're not going to take it on the highway or something, it could be a really fun little runaround. for basically nothing. I mean, you can't get anything decent for under $5,000. And these like K cars were not like beat up either. Where because a lot of these Japanese cars are pretty low mileage because they don't have a whole lot of ground to traverse, in Japan. So a lot of these were like 40,000, 60,000 miles. Like 60,000 miles was like high miles on these sites. The site I was looking at was carfromjapan.com is I think what the K car site's called. Very fun if you ever want to go on there and just see what's out there. But anyway, moving on. Spike Money, thank you so much for a generous super chat. He says, sorry to hear about the weekly updates. I've been a viewer since high school. I remember getting home from school on Fridays and watching the weekly update, then playing Forza afterwards. Good times. That's awesome. Yeah, I got a lot of comments like that this Friday about everyone, saying they've been watching them for 10 years or more, and have been watching the channel for so long, and it always blows my mind. It's very humbling, and just it's just wild to hear, and I'm so appreciative to everyone that's watching. Thank you all so much for the kind comments on the weekly update too. So much support, and I'm just so glad that everyone understands it isn't something I wanted to do. It's just it just doesn't make sense, and I've talked about that in the live, so you guys probably kind of saw it coming a little bit more than most others did. But it is what it is, I won't go on a rant unless people want to hear me talk more, but I'm sure I said enough already in the weekly update. But it's getting tough out there on YouTube these days. And let me see here. So getting back to the other questions. Vishal says, hey, Matt, my notable spot this week was a 90s Ford Thunderbird and a GLS Maybach. Very nice. Both cool spots there. Luke says, I saw 2 EV Dodge Charger coupes this week and a Fisker Ocean. Wow, that's crazy. You saw an Ocean. Yeah, those are rare sights, and I don't think they're going to get any more common here as they slowly drop out. Hopefully they've worked out some bugs, but I'm not optimistic. But yeah, glad to see more and more Chargers popping up little by little. Even though it sounds like, again, the RT version is going to possibly be going away here, according to, what I think Mopar Insider said here this week. So it'll be interesting to see how they play that. But, Raphael, thank you so much for a super chat as well. He says, I'll miss the weekly update, part of my Friday routine, but yours is my favorite car channel, so I'm not going anywhere. And I made 3 years. Well, thank you so much for, crossing the 3-year mark as well. And thanks, for making a part of your routine for so long. I know so many people did. And that's why, this is a decision that I really, honestly, I should have probably pulled the plug a good while back on these, but I know that was just so important to so many people. And again, I still don't think there's a lot of great alternatives on YouTube, unfortunately. So that's another reason why I really wanted to keep it going. But yeah, it's that's what made it extra hard, was just knowing it would affect people's routines and stuff. And I mean, I know it's not the end of the world. People will find something else to fill their time with, but I felt bad about, throwing off, something that people had a tradition of doing, every Friday night or Saturday morning or whatever the case was. But I'm so glad you're not going anywhere. And I very much appreciate it. I understand if people just only want to see the news. I did lose a good bit of subscribers after that video. I think about 100 or so now. But it's it's really great to hear that most of you hopefully will still stick with the channel here, because I will still be doing, like I said, little news clips here and there if there's something really big to talk about. If there's a car that comes out I'm really excited about, if Subaru tomorrow announces a new STI that doesn't suck, I'll be right here freaking out and going off and stuff. So I'm still going to be commenting here and there. I may even do a little more social posting and, even like community posts here on YouTube occasionally, and interacting a little more, since as far as actual post goes, it'll probably only be 2 or 3 videos a week, plus the lives here. But I may, try and still put some stuff into the sub feed there with, little posts from time to time. And I might share more of my articles as well when I write those for Car Buzz. But, yeah, thank you so much, Raphael, for your support. I really appreciate it. And let me see here. Antonio said, "What's up, Matt? Sorry to see the last weekly update. A shot for that last episode. Well, thanks for taking a shot for it. Yeah, I'm just here with water for now. Maybe later switch to whiskey, or maybe future live streams we can have some drinks together here." But Julian also saying, Julian from Dallas, we met at Toyota HQ. Will you be attending the Toyota HQ this week for HQ Confidential? Yep, I will be there. So I'm going to be there this week and covering all the Toyota stuff I talked about in the weekly update. All the new debuts, and also they have that new thing that they've been teasing for Tuesday, and I will be covering that as well. And we'll also be driving something as well. So that's a normal drive event like I often go on to. So I'll be there for all that, and should be a good time here. We'll see. Hopefully it won't be too hot in Texas, but yeah. And Vishal, thanks so much for being a member for 13 months now. I really appreciate it. He says, we'll miss the weekly updates. First vid I watched was a weekly update in 2017. Been subbed ever since. Was my Friday night ritual. Staying sub though. I really appreciate that. Thanks so much for sticking around. And I'm actually kind of surprised because I feel like the weekly updates never did great with discovery. It seemed like it was mostly just subscribers, and didn't get a whole lot of new commenters ever in those. But so that's cool. You actually found the channel that way. I feel like that's you might be one of the few people that actually found the channel from the updates there. I feel like a lot of people, it was either the cars that I've owned or a review or something like that. But so thanks for sharing that. That's interesting, and thanks so much again for your support all these years here. And let me see. Luke says, Mr. Rosser says, had to join in for the first time. Well, thanks for stopping by, and welcome, and hope you enjoy the stream here. And I'll be trying my best here to answer as many questions as I can tonight. We go 2 hours here, and we always have a good time, so hope you enjoy. Luke says, sorry, not car related, but a neighbor that was hoarding junk and animals for years finally moved out. I'm hosting a block party this Saturday to celebrate that she's moved. Well, that's awesome, and happy for you, and hopefully you have a better neighbor in the future, because that's definitely not fun to have a neighbor that's not not the best. That's funny. Thanks for sharing. And Kurt says he'll miss the weekly update. I totally get it, support the decision, but we'll miss it. Yeah, that was really the consensus from everybody, is they understand, but it is definitely sad news, I'm sure. And Fastline says, hey Matt, I used to watch a lot of your videos when I was in middle school and all my high school, but I'm finna graduate, so I haven't had time to watch, but did stop by to say, hey, well, thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate that. I know life gets busy. I completely understand. My watch later playlist on YouTube is like over 800 videos now. There's so many good things that I want to watch. And I feel like I personally watch YouTube so rarely now myself that whenever I get time to watch YouTube, I get so excited. I'm like, yeah, I finally could slowly work through my watch later playlist little by little. And there's so much great content, but I'm right there with you. I'm so busy putting out my own stuff and being a dad and a husband and all the other stuff I, have to do, that it just, it's hard. So I completely understand. I think that's also kind of a natural evolution of this channel, because so many of us, we all were bonding over cars 10, 15 years ago or whatever. And, we all had a lot more free time probably when we were teenagers, or we were maybe in our 20s, now a lot of us are, even in our 30s, and life changes, and it's just one of those things that no matter how well I pivot, or no matter what I do, I know there's a lot of people that just aren't going to have the time, and I completely understand. I'm guilty of that as well. So anyone that has dropped off, do not feel bad at all. It's just that's part of my job, is trying to bring in new people, and trying to also do the best I can to put out videos that are concise and quick. And I have been trying with mixed results, but I've been trying to get the duration of the videos a little bit shorter, especially the used ones. It's one of the reasons why I love doing those too, because there's not as much to cover. I don't have to talk about 15 screens in a car that's 10 years old. So that's one of the reasons why I really do want to do more used stuff too, because I can do them pretty quick and easily. They're easier to edit. They're easier to research. They're easier to, just film and put out a nice shorter video. And so hopefully that maybe helps a little bit. Because I know for me personally, if I see a video that's like 5 minutes or less, I'll usually try and maybe squeeze that in. If it's, closer to 10, I sometimes still will try to, but usually it gets put on the back burner. And if it's a 20 or 30-minute one, it's like, all right, well, I'll watch that someday, So I completely, again, understand, and that's why there's no hard feelings. I completely, get it. And Doug says he spotted a Pontiac Fiero. That's awesome to see one on the road still. I feel like I hardly ever see them driving. I see them in junkyards and stuff, but I don't ever see them actually out on the road. And maybe Gaming BH says, greatest car I saw this week was a 90s Saturn. Not sure what model, but it had plastic bumpers, a relic from a simpler time, right? I know. Yeah. They had a really good idea with the Saturns, having the like plastic body panels. Yeah. Where you had like a lot of that, vehicle. I remember the commercial where there was like someone like hitting golf balls at it or something, and it was like completely fine. It's so many fun things with Saturn in the 90s. Maybe it's just my rose tinted glasses now, but I feel like they actually had some pretty cool stuff back then. Mr. 705 says, really bummed about the weekly news being over. It's my Friday night routine for 10 years to watch that and eat dinner. Yeah, I'm so sorry. I know it's really tough. If you don't watch this entire live stream, that's kind of one of the things I've been offering to people as a, little consolation prize is, these live streams. We do talk about car news, it's me rambling and going on tangents and a lot of the other, stuff that I have done in the weekly updates as well. So, hopefully, if you don't watch all of this, since it is 2 hours, there's plenty of, content there to maybe, put a little bit of that in on a Friday night from the last, live or something like that. Yeah, I wish it didn't have to end. I apologize for throwing off those routines there. Let me see. So Antonio says, I saw a Plymouth Prowler and an NSX. That's pretty cool. I haven't seen a Prowler in a couple of years. I feel like they're pretty rare around here. So nice spot. Fuchs says, I saw a Honda K truck this week. My spot of the week. Also, I also saw that metal thing wrapped in neon orange. Nice. That's funny. That's pretty cool. You're able to see a K truck. Let me see. Anthony's asking, can I share my thoughts on the new CLA EV? Well, I did cover it in the weekly update whenever it came out. And I even did, I think, a standalone little video on that. But CLA EV is pretty promising. I was kind of impressed that it had the 800 volt, system. So really fast charging in a smaller vehicle that is hopefully going to be somewhat lower cost compared to at least the other electric Mercedes. And I'm just worried about the pricing though, because Mercedes is always some of the highest price stuff I review when I compare it to its competitors. And I just don't envision that car being super competitive, honestly. That's my only problem with it. It's still really small. I still don't like the screens on the inside and the way they phoned it in with just like this flat panel, even for the passenger side. Even if you don't get the option for the display, it's just like, here's a giant slab of piano black plastic instead. Just a little lazy, I think, with the design there on the inside. But otherwise, I mean, it looks cool. Mechanically, it sounds really promising. I'm worried about the price. I hope they've managed to bring costs down, but if they haven't, and that's going to be a $60,000 or $70,000 CLA or something like that. Because again, that platform's expensive, 800 volt. I'm just worried they're going to price themselves out of competition, considering you can get an electric 5 series for the, similar kind of money. So, we'll just have to see. But Mercedes just seems to be screwing up pricing, in my opinion, recently. So if pricing isn't messed up, I think it could be good. We'll see. And good to see you, Anthony. Thanks for stopping by. Maybe Gaming says, any chance you will add another live stream in the week? We all love these just as much as the weekly news. I'm not opposed, because obviously the nice thing about these is I just literally sit here and talk, versus all the other things I do take, editing and filming and research. And, there's a lot more goes into it. So I'm all for more lives. I don't know how much of an appetite there is for more. Maybe I can do a little poll here because I do polls from time to time. Let me do a little poll and see what everyone else thinks here. If there is more, then maybe we can discuss, what day would work best for everyone. All right. See what you guys think there. Again, no harm, no foul either way, but just curious if there is an appetite. If there is, yeah, that's easily something. Even if it's not 2 hours, maybe I pop on for an hour sometime in the middle of the week or something like that. Yeah, because I love the interactions, and again, it's always fun just hanging out and talking cars. So and let me see. Looks like we're unanimous, almost unanimous. 95% yes here so far. So, all right, we'll let that cook for a little longer and see. But in the meantime, here, Fastline says you're gonna graduate high school. I'm thinking if my first car should be a 2018 Dodge Durango SRT. Is that a good choice? Durangos are sweet. Yeah, especially you'll be very popular. You can haul around all your friends, having 3 rows of seats. SRT Durangos are awesome. I had a lot of fun. I reviewed one many years ago, and yeah, sounds great and is pretty decent handler, honestly too. And yeah, I think Durangos are nice vehicles. So yeah, and honestly, I think there's more appeal there than like Explorer ST, especially if you enjoy the V8 sound and stuff. So if you can find a good deal on one, absolutely. I think they're great. Jeep Grand Cherokee SRT is also really good if you want something that's a little less big, because again, I don't know how much space you need. If you need a bunch of cargo space and a bunch of people space, Durango is good, but you get that same kind of fun with Grand Cherokee SRT, as well. So yeah, either way. And Antonio says, who's been here since Super Ducks fan? I know a lot of you really have, and that has always been the most mind-blowing thing, is just yeah, the amount of people that that still enjoy watching me, even with all the rants and all the all the content. And that's yeah, it's always mind-blowing. People haven't gotten sick of me yet. And let me see. Julie says, I'll definitely make sure to say hi if we cross paths. Awesome. Yeah, definitely let me know. I'd be more than happy to say hello if I see you there in Texas. And Zachary says, you're not alone, Matt. I just watched an 8-year update from the channel. Company man with 1.77 million subscribers that's been on a similar decline and just had its worst year yet. It's tough times. Yeah. And also YouTube very much is favoring new channels, which is really great. I want new people to have new opportunities to also make a mark on YouTube. But, the problem is just because YouTube is so focused on recommendations now, and because it's so homepage centric, there's just only so many slots on your home screen. And this is why I tell people, like, you have to go to the sub feed if you actually want to see everything I post. Because if I'm not in your recent search history, YouTube will basically make it seem like I dropped off the face of the earth, and you'll never see my stuff recommended because it only cares about recent watch history. But they made it worse on themselves, because now, I don't know how many of you have noticed, but your home screen now has 1 or 2 videos suggested that have like 50 views, and like from people with like 3 subscribers. And I get that they want to give those people a chance and try to, again, make it accessible, and that's completely understandable. But YouTube's done a lot in the past several years to just consistently devalue subscriptions. And it started with the bell. Whenever it was not only it's not good enough to just be a subscriber, but now you have to click the bell for notifications. Otherwise, you might not actually be notified that this channel posted something. And that was kind of the start of the decline of, like, trying to really weed out subscribers in a lot of ways, is what YouTube, I think, really has done here. And so now it's, it doesn't matter, again, unless you do go to your sub feed. I still do go to my sub feed and make sure that I, check up on that. But a lot of people, you go, you open the app, or you pull up the page, and if you see something right there on the homepage that grabs your attention, which is what YouTube's trying to do, if they're doing their job well, you'll say, oh, that's interesting. You'll click that. And then you'll just, over time, a lot of people just forget, about the channels they're subscribed to. And I've even told YouTube in the past, I've offered up, in surveys, and I've even done like one-on-one interviews with YouTube, researchers, and I'm in like the beta program for YouTube to test new features and do all these things. And I've had one-on-one calls with people that are like, hey, do you think we should do this? Do you think we should do that? And all this stuff. And I give my feedback, and I've told them, like, you gotta make subscriptions be worth something again. Because all of these large channels, I know Boohoo, channels with millions of subscribers, and 450,000 subscribers can't get views anymore. But like, these larger channels like myself are the ones that made this their full-time thing. and, put the money in for the high production value and put the money in for, really doing solid videos. And if they want to go back to just having random people posting cell phone videos of their cats falling off a chair and putting that on the homepage, like, great, like, sounds good. But like, they're trying to go this upmarket push with YouTube TV and all this stuff, but then they're also, everyone is putting out, some of these channels are putting out TV level content. I don't think my stuff is quite that good, but there's channels that are putting out that level of stuff and they're not getting recommended. And it's like mixed messages from YouTube here, but I won't go on the tangent much longer, but it's just like, it's annoying that, we've worked really hard to build up these large subscriber bases. That's not something that happens overnight unless you're, some viral sensation. It's something that takes time. And the fact that, I get comments every now and then from people like, oh, I thought you quit uploading videos. I just, like a week or two ago, I had a couple comments be like, whoa, I just found your channel again. Like, I thought you quit doing reviews. I'm like, man, I've been busted my ass for the past 10 years doing videos, and they didn't have a clue. And I don't blame people for forgetting about me or anything, but it's just like, this is YouTube's fault, and it sucks. And so anyway, it's really hard to see something. I'm sure that channel 8 years as well, where you work so hard, and then just to see an algorithm change just pull the rug out from under you. It's not like I did something wrong or violated a community guideline on YouTube or something. It's literally just they decided, oh, we're going to try and just do something new, and the fallout of that is what literally puts people out of work and takes bread off the table for families. So anyway, but glad to hear I'm not alone. I mean, misery loves company, and I don't want this for anyone, but I've heard that there's some others that are struggling. And I mean, even, you can go on Social Blade, look up your favorite YouTube channels on Social Blade, and you can see the decline for a lot of them. I mean, a lot of other car channels are also struggling with this. Not everybody. Some channels are on cloud nine and doing great, but there is the decline. And like we said, lots of reasons with the car market being the way it is, people's lives being the way that it is. It's just a lot of factors there. Raphael says, also, Matt, what were you drinking for the weekly update? Looked like a bottle of Balvenie. Yeah, that's what it was. It was the Balvenie. I think I talked about it one other time. I can't remember what the year is of that one. It's one of the nicer ones. It was gifted to me, and I try and drink it sparingly because it's really good stuff, but it is also very expensive stuff that I will never buy for myself ever again, or ever. But yeah, that was a very nice gift that I got, and so good stuff. Highly recommend if you haven't had it. And if I remember the actual number of it, I'll let you know, or maybe I'll bring it on here in a future live stream. Luke says, I used to find dead rats in my yard from her trash, and when I was renovating my kitchen, she would do late fires, and the smoke came up through the gap in my floor and made the smoke alarm go off at 2 a.m. Yikes, that's crazy, man. Well, yeah, it sounds like you'll have a big upgrade in your quality of life now, with hopefully a better neighbor. We'll keep our fingers crossed for you for that. And Anthony said, you've been watching since you were a SuperX fan. You made me want a WRX. That's awesome. Yeah, it was a common theme. A lot of us, all kind of wanted them, and then the BRZs and all that. It's funny. Let me see here. So Danny says, my parents are still thinking about my first car. Insurance jumped $3,000 just to put me on it. Nearly killed someone 2 days before my driving test. Don't want to explain. Use all of my questions. Man, yeah. Well, insurance rates are definitely going up. My insurance rates actually just went up this month as well. And insurance is such a racket. I was just actually ranting to a neighbor earlier tonight about, man, all insurance, health insurance, life insurance, like every kind of insurance you can name, like the racket of insurance, just it's such a broken system. But hopefully you can get yourself insured there on a nice car for you to drive around in soon, Danny. But yeah, sorry to hear about that struggle. And the 1K says, life has pushed my dream of owning an S550 Mustang far, far away. I still aspire to owning an S550 someday. I really want a GT350 with the transmission, diff coolers, but I'll take an auto V6. Yeah, well, I can relate, obviously the S550 Mustang dream, was something I wasn't able to do forever as well. But I hope you get there someday. The good thing is, they made lots of them, so there's always going to be a healthy used market for those. They will continue to depreciate, at least for the non-special ones. GT350 might not a bunch, but those Auto V6s will hopefully get just as cheap as a 20-year-old Auto V6 Mustang is now. So just give it time. Hopefully it'll come to you eventually. But best of luck with that. And Vishal says, I saw Car Confection's first look at the new ES. I gotta say, I do hate it a little less. Still reserving judgment until I see it in person. Yeah, I'll cover it here this week as well. It's I always find out about this stuff like after the fact that Toyota didn't offer me like the early weekend thing, but like all the bigger names there, apparently for them the trip's different. It's I guess Friday to, I don't know how late they're staying or when they're leaving, but yeah, like everyone, I thought we were all showing up on Monday, and apparently everyone's already filmed everything and probably posted it before I even get there, which if I would have known, I probably wouldn't have even gone, honestly, because again, there is the one other reveal here on Tuesday that'll hopefully make it slightly worthwhile. But like that always is a bummer whenever it's not a level playing field, and it's like, all right, well, my video is, I'm not even like in Texas yet. My video will be behind. That's the nice thing about embargoes. Some people don't love the idea of embargoes, but like embargoes are nice because it gives us all a level playing field. And that goes out the window whenever car companies play favorites like that. So it is what it is. Obviously Car Confections is huge. They deserve to be there far more than I do. But again, I just wish, it was just equal for everybody. But anyway, let me see. Mystical Gamer, thanks for stopping by. And RR Paintball says, do you think if Honda would have merged with Nissan and Mitsubishi, do you think this would get a new GT3000, Eclipse, Lancer Evo, and make Mitsubishi competitive in that area again? So yeah, 3000 GT, stuff like that. I just don't know if they have the the buyer base these days. Mitsubishi, I feel like people were comfortable spending big money for those back when Mitsubishi was on top, but these days I don't think they could pull off some kind of tour de force like that, for the 3000 GT, where that had, Ruble steering, twin turbo, all these very advanced things, for the early 90s. And, I don't think, even if they had some crazy wild, if they had the first solid state, EV or something, it was a 3000 GT, for example, where it was really cutting edge, kind of like some of the stuff in that car was, even if they charged, 50 or 60 grand for it, I still feel like people just wouldn't go for that, but as far as, the partnership, if they do ever merge or, whatever, it's really, they're in a point, and I think one of the executives actually said this past week. They're like, we want to make fun stuff, but we have to also pay our bills first. Actually, it was Alfa Romeo's executives, same kind of issue there, but where it's like, we have to make sure that like our bills are paid and then we can work on the fun stuff. So I think with Mitsubishi especially, and even also Nissan, and you're talking about Honda. I mean, Honda's strong, but even Honda couldn't, justify anything beyond a Type R. There's no new S2000 or anything. And especially with this very expensive transition to EVs, these companies just don't have the disposable cash to, do all the pet projects they want to do. So I don't think, if these companies merge, maybe you see that stuff in 5 or 10 years, if market conditions are really good. This is also economy dependent. You don't want to launch all these, expensive, fun toy weekend cars whenever people are reeling from tariffs and you got, a not great economy. So that's kind of why it really has to be a perfect combination of factors to make stuff like that successful. Because, look at, stuff that was launched around the wrong time, like the Pontiac Solstice, the Saturn Sky combo, those really kind of came out right as we we're getting into a recession. And, I think if we weren't in a recession, that car launched in 2013 or something like that, I think it would have had a longer life. I think it would have had a second generation, probably would have, been improved and all this. So it's all these kinds of things. And so right now these car companies are just fighting for survival, all of them. At first it was just, some of these ones, that are weaker, like Nissan and Mitsubishi, but now like everyone, I mean, like, Toyota, Subaru, they're all going to be screwed with if the tariffs stick around the way they are. Outback, they had already planned on moving production of that to Japan. And so this new one, it's like, well, how are we going to get it here without it, costing 25% more? There's just so many of these things. So many car companies are probably going to put their sporty stuff on the back burner. And this is what I talked about back when these things were just first announced, is that we may lose all the sporty stuff first because it's low volume stuff, no profit margin. And it's also low cost stuff. So people aren't going to pay 25% more. So that's why I'm worried about all those affordable sports cars getting dropped, at least from America here. But let me see. Sorry I missed all the other stuff that popped up here. So Notorious CRG, thank you so much for a super chat. He says, I live near Salt Lake City, Utah. Nice cars here. McLarens, Lamborghinis, Ferraris, NSXs. Just saw a 48 Pista at a Sam's Club. Hopefully not getting gas there. Yeah, hopefully not. Don't recommend grocery store gas. But yeah, that's pretty sweet. Congrats on all the fun spots you see all the time. That's awesome. And thank you so much for the super chat. And Jordan, thank you for a super chat. He says, no exciting new cars in any recent films/series. Yeah, well, I think, is there a new Mission Impossible coming out? I don't stay up to date on those. I want to get into those eventually, but I think there's a new one of those, and maybe there's some cool cars in that. I don't know. But thank you again, Jordan, for the super chat. And Kyle, thank you so much for gifting 5 memberships. I really appreciate the generosity here, and happy to see some new names and some familiar faces as well. I see MR Rosser is able to get a membership there as well. So I think he's still in here, and hopefully he can join in there with the membership now. And thank you so much, Kyle, for your generosity once again. And Notorious CRG, thank you for another super chat. He says, pay a bunch of money /month for nothing. Then when something happens, you get to pay tons more. Insurance lobby made it a law to have it. Racket indeed. Yep. You nailed it on the head there. That is exactly right. Life, right? The world we have been born into, it's wild. Yeah. Let me see. Also, we'll check in here on the poll. So it looks like 85% do say yes for a second live stream. Okay, well, yeah, if you guys even just in the comments there want to mention what days work for you, if there's a day that is more, most frequent in the comments there, we can maybe try that as, another little live and see, where that goes. I know Friday, it's tempting to do like a Friday one around the same time as weekly updates. Fridays sometimes can be tricky, so maybe this is something I could shuffle around and have it be a different day, depending on the week. Some Fridays, maybe I could do something, at like 4:00 Eastern time here, or something like that. And kind of discuss things, again, very informal, obviously, and it would still just, hopefully to be like a Q&A kind of thing. Cause I do like the interaction. I know some people, the live is just like them posting another video and they're just like sitting here presenting the whole time and ignoring the comment section. If I'm doing a live, I want to talk with you guys. I don't want to just like ignore you. So like, I think that's why some people have suggested like just do a live weekly update. And while that does solve all my problems as far as, the production time and the research time and all this, if I'm just reading articles to you guys for, half an hour or something, like that could be done. But one, you don't get the visual component, which I think is important when I'm talking about, hey, look at this crazy new car that came out. But also just, again, I like interacting with you guys. Maybe that's weird. I don't know, because I know, again, a lot of other live streamers don't do that, but like, I'd rather just talk to you guys, honestly. And if you have questions about cars that came out that week, more than happy to talk car news. But I think it's far more interesting to just talk about, what you guys want to talk about. Let me see. So why each thank you so much for a super chat. It says, why my S650 GT have this whine when I give it a little gas in slow speed, like drive through a parking lot? I like the sounds like a mini supercharger. I'm guessing that might be slight transmission whine. Some transmissions do that. I don't recall that in the S650 GT that I reviewed. I didn't spend a ton of time with that car though, because it was just someone's car and I was just driving around with the person, so we were talking a bunch, so there wasn't a whole lot of silence. I've been asking Ford for another Mustang press car because I've only gotten an EcoBoost from them so far. I've been wanting to do the Dark Horse for now, what has it been, 2 years? Still have not done a Dark Horse. That's one I'll probably go to a dealer and try and get my hands on one, as long as the dealers are cool about it. Because Ford is just not the best at sending press cars, especially Mustangs. But Yeah, I would assume it's got to be the automatic. If it's something that concerns you, I know you said you like the sound. If it is concerning, definitely take it to the dealer, have them check it out and see. Um, but yeah, I think that's my guess is it's got to be the automatic. If you have the auto, if you have a manual, then I'm not sure what it would be. Maybe yeah, it says very faint, like drive through windows down, you hear it. Hmm. Yeah, the only other thing I can think of is maybe it's your intake. If you're hearing like the slight whoosh kind of sound, something like that. I don't know. Um, yeah, that's interesting. Hopefully your car is good. And I'm glad hopefully you're enjoying the S650 GT as well. And thank you again so much for the super chat. He says the 10-speed auto, the rental last year did the same thing, so I think it's normal. Okay, cool. Well, that's good. Yeah, I guess I just did not pick up on that when I drove it. But that's yeah. I'm not sure why I would do that though. Some automatics do it. I know I complained about this in my Miata review last year because I had an automatic Miata and that had a transmission whine that sounded like it was like a 2003 Ford Taurus or something. It was weird. But other than that, most automatics are completely silent these days, even in drive-thrus and things like that. But I don't know. Interesting. Thanks for bringing that up though. And let me see here. Notorious CRG, thank you for another super chat. He says, one con of 7 kids, having to insure 4 of them so far. Oof, that has got to be. Man, I don't even want to think about the insurance bill you must face every month. That's yeah, you I salute you, sir. That is man, well, best of luck with that. Hopefully some of them are nearing the point of needing to be on their own insurance soon. Man, that's crazy. Um, and let me see. Um, where were we here? I am going to switch over to just member questions for a few minutes just so we don't get too far behind on those. Luke says maybe a Friday afternoon to replace the updates. Okay, yeah, which I just mentioned as well. You're right. You're way ahead of me there, Luke. And Raphael says midweek whiskey tasting. That could be good, especially sometimes that's appropriate. Just staying up on the news in general. So that could work. Yeah. Okay. And Zachary says 2 1-hour streams. Yeah. I mean, splitting things up. I mean, I have no problem just keeping this one at 2 hours, but if we add on another one, Vishal says, yeah, definitely a 1-hour stream midweek would be good. Okay. Yeah. So maybe, one. And that way it's not as much of a time commitment for people that want to stop by or people that want to watch it after the fact. It doesn't seem like it's this giant, movie length thing twice a week instead of once. And Decepticon says, yo, Matt, Maran in the house. Thanks for stopping by, Decepticon. Luke says, the first video of yours I ever watched was 2012 Mercedes C300 4MATIC. Wow, I think that was like my 3rd or 4th review I ever did. That car was a zip car. I don't know if any of you heard of that. That was a thing they did in a lot of cities at the time of like a hourly car rental thing for people who were urban dwellers, just wanted to like hop in a car and do their errands for a few hours. And I before I was able to get my hands on a bunch of cars, that was one of the things is I was like, well, I can just pay, I think back then it was like maybe 20 or 30 bucks. So I was like, I can just, pay that and go drive this around for 2 hours or something, bring it back and do the video. And that's how I did that. That was a long time ago. That's crazy. Thanks for watching all these years, Luke. And Brian says, it was a beautiful day in Omaha. Saw a Porsche 718 Cayman GT4 today, among other sports cars. I've always appreciated your weekly updates. I also appreciate your no-nonsense car reviews. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate that. Thanks so much, Brian. And I'm so glad you guys still enjoy the reviews too. And Shawshank's asking if I'm going to hit any meets in the PA, New Jersey, or New York area anytime soon. No, I don't get out to car meets really ever. My daughter doesn't love loud cars. And hopefully that's something in the future that, we can work through. But usually weekend stuff, I always reserve for family stuff. And I may go to the Vintage Grand Prix here in Pittsburgh. That's a pretty big deal around here. And honestly, there are some people that come in from other states and stuff too. So I may make it to that, but that's probably the only car show I'll go to this year. I haven't been to Cars and Coffee, and I think at this point it's been probably 2 years now. And I do miss it sometimes, but again, it's I get my car filled with all the press cars, and going on these drives, with these media events and stuff, getting to chat with all the other car reviewers there, and then chatting with you guys. This is kind of my car meet is chatting cars with you guys here, because this is what I used to do in a parking lot at a gas station, 10 or 15 years ago, and now I'm doing it here in a way. So yeah, no other meets planned, unfortunately. And Brandon says algorithm has been rough to you. Yeah, but it's also, you also can't blame the algorithm completely, and that's something I've been guilty of in the past, and it's an easy scapegoat. And I think there is certainly a component of that is absolutely, like I talked about, absolutely part of it. But there's also part of it that I haven't changed things up a whole lot, and a lot of people have seen me, for years, and they're just tired of me and they're looking for a fresh face. And, there's some of those types of things as well, where it's just sometimes you just get tired of stuff and you want to move on. And, that's something I try to, make things fresher, and try to, improve my presentation and things like that. But, yeah, I think for me, it always comes back to trying to help people find a car they'll love. And I know a lot of people, I even had like YouTube consultants suggest like I should pivot into just doing, like crazy car related videos, but just kind of go big or go home, kind of, instead of just doing my ho hum little car reviews, just do like only crazy cars, do crazy build stuff, just, and kind of just not sell out, but just not be me. And fortunately, I'm just a pretty boring person. I just want to like give people good car advice, because I truly, that's why I do this channel, is to help people find a car they will love, not to be some giant, personality, or to be some, person with a full garage of supercars and, flaunting all this crap that I have. That's just not me. Honestly, like, even if I won the lottery, like, and had the money to buy 30 cars, I would buy 30 cars, but I wouldn't be showing them off. I mean, I'd maybe do like a live and show them to you guys or something like that, but I would not make a big show of it. It's just not my personality. And that's always been my problem with YouTube, is like my personality is just not what YouTube really wants and needs. I'm not the all caps crazy thumbnails, like, that's just, it's just and so that's kind of, that's on me. But it's something I didn't want to cave to clickbait. I didn't want to cave to lies or being someone I'm not. It's just unfortunately my personality isn't what the algorithm really wants a lot of times. And let me see. Kraken says, Matt, two of my friends drove Kraken today around a parking lot, and the one had the craziest face, and he goes, yeah, oh my God, this thing launches so hard. Nice. I'm glad you guys had fun. That's awesome. And he says, my rates went down 300 for this year, all because I've had a perfect record for over 2 years. That's awesome. Well, I'm glad that it's gone down for you. That's you're the first person I've heard say their insurance has gone down. But I'm happy for you, and I hope the rest of us also have some rates that get a little bit better here. But I'm not holding my breath. But I'm glad you had them go down. That's good to hear. And Isaac's asking, how's the Fiat? It's doing great. Still hasn't moved. It's been sitting now for probably about 6 or 7 weeks. And I will be driving it to the airport here this week for the Toyota event. And that's what that car is supposed to be, is an airport runner. And I just haven't done many flying trips here because of the FAA's shenanigans here. So I've been really avoiding flying. But just the Toyota thing is a big enough event that I was like, all right, I will get on an airplane and keep my fingers crossed. So that's why the Fiat hasn't been living up to its duties as much as it should normally have been yet, but I think it's around 650 miles right now. And I've had a bunch of press cars, but I may be dwindling down on press cars a little bit here too. Again, we'll have to see how tariffs play out, because I'm going to start saying no to stuff if I start getting press cars that are things that won't be imported into America and stuff. I think Audi is still holding stuff at port. I'm not sure. I think there are some companies. I know JLR has resumed importing stuff, but I don't know about the German companies, since they don't get the preferential treatment like the UK currently has. So I don't know what's going to happen there, but it's something I'm kind of playing it by ear. But in the meantime, Fiat just sits waiting in the wings most of the time. And Brandon says, even though your Cooper S was a pain, still made me want to get one. That car was really fun. And, I have a lot of regrets in life, but, that car, I've said in the past, looking back, that was a mistake to get rid of that car. Because one, I really did love it, and I could have done so much more with it because I only had it for like 6 months. It was just falling apart, and that just terrified me. But it was going to be YouTube gold if I would have stuck with it. The more times I would have been stressed out on the side of the road with my hood popped, that's YouTube gold. I mean, I could have just been laughing all the way to the bank with that car, even with paying for repairs. And I didn't capitalize on that well, just because that was before I had press cars or anything. So that was like my only transportation to get me to the cars I needed to review and live my life in, and so like, if that was a toy car on the side, or if like the Fiat turns into that, like great, like I'll milk it for all it's worth. I don't care because again, I got other forms of transportation. But back then, it was like that was my only form of transportation, and that's why I couldn't weather actually being stranded, against my will, and and not having any kind of alternative, was the thing. But I should have just stuck with it and found some other transportation or something to keep that car around. But I do miss it. And R56s are not good cars to buy used. I wouldn't recommend it, but man, they are fun. I think if you want an old Cooper and the fun of that, it sounds like go for an 05 or 06 R53 Cooper S. It's the supercharger, so it's also, I would say, cooler anyway. And again, in hindsight, if I was wanting to get a Mini and scratch that itch, I should have just gone for one of those. But the 05 to 06 are fairly reliable. There are still some wear items that are expensive BMW parts that are, not great, but it seems like those, if you want, they do command a premium as a result. But the 05 to 06 is actually like as good as you're going to get for an old Mini as far as reliability. The most recent generation here before the brand new ones, those are phenomenal with the B48 BMW motor and stuff, like super reliable cars. I've seen them with over 200,000 miles, still going great. There are reliable Minis out there, but I would stay away from the R56 for sure. And Andrew's asking if naturally aspirated is more reliable than turbo. Definitely seems to be the case typically. Let me see. Interp says, hey Matt, just wondering, with all the manuals going away, what's your favorite current manual, and is the Civic Type R one of them? As far as current favorite manual, that's going to have to be the Blackwings, especially, and even CT4 V Blackwing I think is actually slightly better with the feel than CT5 V Blackwing, but both of them are a great Tremec with a nice short throw, but it falls to hand nicely. I love that it has the auto rev matching still, so you don't have to worry about being perfect with that. And it feels really good. It's enough feel, it's enough weight without being burdensome, but it's not so much that it feels like a toy. It's really well done. So that's my favorite. Civic Type R, I'd say, is probably the runner-up. It's basically one of the best manuals, at least, if we're not talking about exotic stuff. I haven't driven, these other, crazy new manual exotics and stuff. But as far as regular stuff, Civic Type R is probably the second best in my mind. And of course the Integra Type S by extension. And also Civic Si has a great manual too. That's really enjoyable. But I mean, even some of the ones that don't get all the limelight, like I think Elantra N, I just actually had one last week. I'll be posting a video on that here, probably in June, early June. But that's still a really good manual. It's not the best, and I wish it didn't have a plastic shift knob, but it's actually not a bad manual, and I'm just, again, happy they have it with a manual. And it's pretty good. It's got some nice notchiness to it, and again, it's not Honda good, but not everything has to be Honda good to be fun, And so I think there's some good ones out there, but I think the Blackwings still take the cake for me. And Vishal says the new Tiguan somehow looks nicer than the Q5. Audi's design and aesthetic have fallen off, it seems. Yeah, Q5. It isn't quite as exciting as the other Audis, because like I think Q6 e-tron looks great, and then Q5, I think that is their biggest seller though, and they got to be super conservative and still play it safe. But you look at BMW, for example, new X3, still bold but safer, but I think a little bit more of a chance, but I think actually the new X3, the more and more that I see them, I still don't love the interior, but the outside, I think it's actually nice. I don't love it, but I think it's nice. And so Q5, I wonder if they did enough to make it look futuristic and fit with Audi's, you know, goal of being futuristic and all that. I mean, I think it's fine. It's not going to upset anyone, but I think they definitely played it a little too safe, possibly, with that. But I guess they figure everyone who wants something cutting edge is going to go buy, the Q4 or the Q6 instead anyway. So Q5 is for that traditionalist. So maybe they played it right. I'm sure they obviously know their buyer better than we do. But yeah, it is kind of interesting. And I will actually be reviewing the new Q5. That's another thing where they did two different waves. A bunch of people are already on OneDrive. They're holding their impressions. Thankfully, at least that's embargoed, even though the walk around stuff isn't. So I'm behind on that. But I think the drive stuff are all on the same embargo for that. And I will be driving Q5, SQ5, as well as A5 and S5. And so stay tuned for that here at some point. I think in June for that. So that's coming. I'm probably going to just do comparison stuff because I have like basically 36 hours of like being there for the event, and driving wise, I have obviously even way less than that to film 4 cars, and I'm not going to be able to do it. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to combine A5 and S5 in one video and compare the two in the video and do a comparison of SQ5 and Q5 as well. So stay tuned for that. And hopefully, I'm hoping, because comparisons usually do pretty well for me when I have the opportunity to do them. So I'm hoping doing a comparison instead of a fully normal review will actually be something a little bit interesting for people. And so I'm gonna be doing that. So keep an eye out for that here next month. And let me see here. Fook, thanks so much for being a member for 2 years now. I really appreciate that. He says, petition to have a section in the new live stream called My Rants. Pick a victim and go off for 10 minutes each week, car news, features, etc. I mean, yeah, if you I'm easy to get going with a rant. So anything you want to bring up, always happy to go off on. If you want me to come up with a topic, I mean, I will try and remember a grievance each week that that I want to go off on. That's fine with me. Yeah. Cause especially these days, again, I'm turning down more and more trips and stuff. So I don't have quite as much to lose, but no, I mean, yeah, there's nothing off the top of my head that I can just go off of, at the drop of a hat here. But if there's anything you guys would like to hear me rant about, let me know. And thank you again so much for being a member for 2 years now. I really appreciate that. And let me see here. So I see Y says copped a 2025 Mustang GT active exhaust, 10-speed auto, and Brembos. That's awesome. Nice combo. They're always good to get the active exhaust. It's such a well worth thing to have. It's so nice having the duality of just flipping a switch and having it loud, as loud as you want there. Doug says his dream car is currently a 5th gen Z28. Thanks to your review video, you helped me decide to buy it. That's awesome. And it's in his garage. Congrats on achieving your dream. And the Z28 is a very special car. That is, yeah. And that was a crazy opportunity. I like that review was, I think the car was on eBay because they had one of the first ones in the country. And I was like, are you sure you want me to drive this? I'm like, I do not want to put miles on what is going to very much be a high dollar collectible. And they're like, yeah, sure. So I did do a shorter drive than what I usually did back then. And I, was obviously extra careful, but I still, did the review and had fun with it. And I'm glad that it influenced you into getting one too. A phenomenal car. So special. Fantastic. I love the 5th gen. 6th gen is also fantastic in its own way, but in some ways, I think I still like the 5th gen better, styling wise and interior and just that Z28 was really special, and it's awesome you have one. That's a very good investment too. I am sure. I mean, even if you drive the wheels off that thing, that is always going to be a desirable car and be big money, especially now seeing the way Camaro has gone, and it probably never returning, at least with a V8. That is going to be a very good investment. So hold on to that thing if you can. That'll be a very, very nice car. If you ever want to send it to Barrett Jackson in 20 years or something. And let me see. I see Patricia says, rip to the weekly updates. I know, I'm so sorry once again. And thanks for stopping by though, Patricia, as well. And hopefully it doesn't throw off too many routines here. And I see Mr. Rosser says he'll tune in now for sure. I appreciate that. Well, thanks so much. And let me see. Okay, Basis says I think a live Friday weekly update would be awesome. So maybe we'll try to do something Friday. We'll see. Again, I can't guarantee every Friday. Like I will be going on a little trip with the family here, and I will be away on a Friday. So there will be some times where I probably won't be able to, but that could be the goals. Maybe we do a Friday thing. I see also Lancelot says any night but Tuesday is good for me. I usually go to a movie with a friend Tuesday night. Nice. I'm happy to hear people going to movies because I feel like less and less people go to movies, myself included, these days. So I'm happy that that you're supporting the movie industry there, because that is another industry. Again, no one has any sympathy for, and I totally get it. They've made money hand over fist for 100 years, but movie industry is really struggling too. And as someone who loves movies and enjoyed being part of movies in the past, that's one thing. Pittsburgh used to get a bunch of movies through here, and we have less now because there's just a lot of stuff where they have to cut costs, or they're just doing Netflix shows and stuff instead. But not as much of a movie town here as it used to be 10 years ago. And let me see. Andrew says thoughts on BRZ Series Purple. I think it's great. Looks so cool. Be a really fun one to pick up if you're remotely open to purple cars. I've always actually wanted a purple cars. That'd be really fun to pick up someday. Michelle says I think Wednesday is a good day, kind of a midweek treat. Yeah, that's also what I was kind of thinking, was maybe in middle of the week to break it up instead of Friday and then having another one just 2 days later. But I get that, especially as people are transitioning, from the weekly updates, it might be nice to do Friday. So, I'll have to think. Maybe we bounce back and forth between the two from time to time. But I'm glad you guys are excited about doing something in the middle of the week here. And John, thanks for stopping by. Says I hope everyone's having a wonderful evening. I hope you are as well, John. And I see Mr. 705 says I like the live stream. I've watched everyone. Plus, if I can't watch it Sunday, I can listen to it later in the week. That's awesome. Yeah, that's another thing. I know there's several comments in the weekly update about people saying you should do a podcast. And, I understand like the idea of like a traditional podcast of, me having sit up against a mic and do my thing. But I mean, these are actually labeled as podcasts. If you ever see the playlist for these or for the weekly update, both were labeled as podcasts, because podcasts on YouTube are actually exploding, video podcasts in particular, obviously. But like YouTube is becoming one of the top places for podcasts, which is actually good for podcasters because it means an easy way to monetize versus, selling your own ads. And that's kind of the one, for anyone who also has been wanting a traditional podcast from me, that's why I've never done them, is they're very hard to monetize. It's another full-time job, constantly pitching yourself to advertisers and trying to keep sponsorships going. And because otherwise, there is no there. I mean, I think some platforms do auto insert ads. I don't know how well it pays. I don't think it pays super well. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not an expert on that, but it just seems like it's very hard to monetize podcasts unless you have someone constantly out there selling you to advertisers. And that's why I just didn't have time to be pitching people, as well as doing everything else. So, but if you have YouTube Premium, unfortunately, you have to pay for that. But like, you can just listen to videos on YouTube with that. And I know a lot of people say that's how they do, for the live stream or for the weekly updates, even they just watched that as an audio thing in the background and just listened, and that was fine for them. They didn't have to see the styling I was talking about or whatever. And same with these. You don't have to sit here and watch me. You're probably better off just listening anyway than sitting here and watching my face for 2 hours. So I think that's really a great way to consume these. Is just, you got a long drive or you want to listen to me ramble on your commute. I think it's great. So hopefully these can kind of be like podcasts, even if it's not, again, on your favorite podcast app or whatever. Hopefully it's still something that people can kind of work with. Let me see. Zachary says, I think Friday and Sunday are a bit too close. Okay, so yeah, we're all on the same page here. So yeah, I see others are saying Wednesday maybe. And that also Wednesday works too, because if I do it Wednesday, and if people are missing, the weekly update on Friday, hopefully they will maybe just say, okay, well, I'll watch, the live from Wednesday, and that kind of fills in that Friday night dinner or that Saturday morning breakfast, those kinds of traditions people have had. At least there's something else there, especially if the reviews don't appeal to you, or you need something longer. That could be a nice alternative there. And I do have a few other ideas for extra videos that are very low production value, stuff that I may try and add into to maybe, again, just try and bring more content, even though I am dropping out the weekly updates here. So it's not just car reviews all the time. So I have a few things. I still want to do junkyard walks. I've been in talks with Pull Apart, trying to figure out kind of how we go about that. That will probably be a new channel, though. I think, especially we've talking about the algorithm. As YouTube has been favoring new channels, it's like, well, I should cash in on this and make a new channel. If they're going to push new channels and they don't want to push my old channel, then I'm going to do a new channel. And I'll still keep this one. But, if I'm going to do a totally separate thing, I think junkyard stuff is different enough from car reviews, especially since now I'm only doing car reviews basically on this channel. I think separating those two audiences is probably smart. So, again, no guarantees yet, but I'm thinking about probably starting a second channel just for junkyard stuff. And especially if I can get Pull Apart to sponsor those, at least early on, then even if I'm not monetized on that channel, because you have to hit 1,000 subscribers, which hopefully I'll have, a decent amount of people that will, subscribe to a new channel. But, it's also the watch time. You have to build up like 4,000 hours of watch time before you can actually get ads on a new channel. So hopefully I'm trying to line it up so Pull Apart kind of sponsors some of these, at least early on, get the channel going. I'm still making money doing videos, even though I'm not monetized. And then, kind of build up a new second channel, which also would be good for, again, not keeping all my eggs in one basket, having the Car Buzz articles I'm writing, having this channel, and then also maybe having another one, so that if YouTube tries to screw with me, I have some other stuff, working for me here. So yeah, maybe we'll see about other content, but yeah, maybe we do a Wednesday live and try that first. I see Dozier also is agreeing with that. Let me see. Chuck and Garga, thanks for stopping by. And Travis says, I have over 200,000 miles on my 2017 Renegade. That's impressive for a 17. And also for a Renegade, I have to say. He says, I've been thinking about getting into a new 4Runner. Nice. I've been seeing more and more new 4Runners popping up. So yeah, I like the 4Runner a lot. I haven't spent a week with one yet. I just did the first drive back in January, and I've been waiting on, a press loaner since. They seem to be taking a while to get to press fleets, because I don't think I've seen anyone else really get one either yet, at least around here. So, so stay tuned for more thoughts on 4Runner. I will be getting one at some point here. But I actually really like 4Runner. Like if I lived in a place where I had a driveway where I needed to have off-road capability, or if I lived in a place where I was frequently driving on dirt roads or, things like that, 4Runner is probably up there as one of my top things that I would probably, if I needed to have an SUV that was actually off-road capable, that's probably one of the top things. If I could get away with a Land Rover Defender, I'd probably go for that if I could afford it first. But 4Runner is really up there. It's probably one of my favorites. And I also love, you guys just saw that new Wave. What is it? Wave Maker is the new color here for 2025 for the TRD, or 2026, I think, for the TRD Pros. And that's a fun, like 80s, 90s kind of color to me, that tealy kind of blue. A 4Runner in that color, I could get behind that. If I lived off the beaten path, I could be totally fine rocking a 4Runner like that, because they do drive really well, honestly. And honestly, I love the base one. I love the cloth seats that are really thick cloth, and the small little screen and stuff. These days it's kind of laughable when you look at these giant screens and everything else, but like, I don't know, just like there's a vibe about the new 4Runner that I really like. The old one just always felt so old to me, and I just was kind of a mental block for me. But the new one, I'm really kind of into those, and so much better power wise too, and transmission wise is so much better mechanically. But let me see. Notorious is laughing about my response to the super chat there. And B. Mitchell says the 78 Mark V is insulated well enough that I can hear the torque converter from the C6 Auto spool up. Maybe it's time to ditch the stock resonators for Flowmasters. There you go. Yeah, good suggestion. Notorious says, yeah, it sucks with the insurance rates there. Luke says you can keep the whiskey stocked, but can't do weekly updates. Priorities. Only kidding with you, no offense. Yeah, no, I don't keep the whiskey stocked. Whiskey is exclusively a gift thing. People, it's always like, what am I going to eat for my birthday or for your birthday? And I'm like, just give me like some whiskey. And so I actually haven't bought my own whiskey. Yeah. I mean, I guess, when you're out or something, if you're having a drink with someone, but like as far as like buying a bottle of whiskey, it's probably actually been like 5 years since I bought my own bottle of whiskey, maybe. So yeah. And even then, I never buy expensive stuff. I think the last bottle of whiskey I bought was Canadian Club, which I don't know how much it is these days, but I think it was like $20, maybe. Maybe it was less. I don't know, but it's been a long time. Honestly, since I bought it myself. And B. Mitchell says Pittsburgh Vintage Grand Prix is a big deal for vintage BMW circles. Yeah, and also Porsche, vintage Porsche. I mean, there are people that come in from all over the country, even some international people that come in for that, because it's a large gathering of vintage Porsches, and also the vintage racing. I mean, again, other parts of the country do that as well, but like there's like a guy with like over $1 million vintage Maserati race car. I don't even remember which one it is, but like he races it like wheel to wheel with other cars out there. I mean, there's some really cool stuff that, I mean, I would say maybe it's just, again, the Pittsburgh bias, but like, I think the Vintage Grand Prix, especially if you're into vintage cars, is really, I think, worth a trip at least once in your life, just to try it out, because it is pretty impressive, I think, honestly, just the racing and the show itself. But let me see. I see Logan says, hey, Matt, longtime follower, first time catching a live, had to come in, comment to help with traction in the algorithm. Well, thank you so much for stopping by, and hope you enjoy the live here. I really appreciate it. And yeah, thanks so much for being a follower for so long here too. It's been, I've seen so many of those comments here these past couple of days, and I'm so appreciative to so many of you. And I love that about this community is obviously there's lots of new people as well, and I'm very excited about that too. But the amount of people that, we've all kind of grown up together, we've all kind of gone through, all these crazy car times together, and, seen the wildness of Hellcats when they came out and all these fun things. It's really fun to think that, we've all kind of experienced all this together, and yeah, it's fun. And let me see. Vishal says, hit 4,000 miles on my Jetta this weekend. Still enjoying it. No issues at all. Fuel economy continues to impress me, and just how nice it is for the money. That's awesome. I'm glad you're enjoying it. That's nothing better than having, satisfaction with your purchase and enjoying it. And also just enjoying a new car, is always so fun. It's a special thing. Richie's asking if I drove the new C300. I have not driven it yet. I asked for one back when Mercedes, had them in the press fleet, never got one, unfortunately. And now, interestingly, Mercedes actually isn't going to send me any more press vehicles. They claim it's a mileage thing. They can't send it super far anymore, because I do get all my press cars from DC typically. They're not the only person that said that. BMW, this is why I don't usually get BMW press cars as well. It's also why I don't get minis usually, even though I had just, my first mini here, but don't expect that to happen again. So, there are a few brands that haven't sent me cars as a result of, the distance. Jaguar was another one. Although now Land Rover, strangely, is sending me cars, and I'm happy about it. But yeah, so unfortunately, we'll not be covering any more new Mercedes. They've usually done terrible as far as views anyway, so not a huge loss for me, but don't look for any new Mercedes coverage for me. I'll try and do some, I do have dealer contacts and stuff still if I really want to review stuff, but again, usually the views are not good enough to be worth the trouble for those, and I'm better off reviewing some 10-year-old used car that'll probably get better views anyway. So yeah, a little heads up there. But I mean, it'd be nice to review them just so that I have a good comprehensive understanding of everything that's out there that's, competing against, the new A5 and stuff, for example. But unfortunately, I don't have that easy access to those anymore. And yeah, even when I did, Mercedes just never sent one to me. I don't know. But where she also says doesn't mind the Q5 exterior, but I don't like the interior one. But you'll see. I did just film not too long ago. I haven't posted it yet, but I'm gonna be posting soon a review of the Audi SQ6 e-tron, which has that new interior as well. And I didn't love it whenever I first saw it as well. Using it for a week, it's not bad. It's not amazing. I still, you'll hear some of my complaints in the review, but it's not bad. If again, you try it out for yourself, see what you think. But once I got used to it, it was actually totally fine. I didn't have any complaints with it. I think they did a pretty decent job, and I do like it better than I think even some of the other stuff out there these days. So yeah, try it out, see what you think if you get a chance. And let me see. Shawshank says, any reviews planned of the G80/82, M3, M4? I would love to review those someday. Those are going to come down to, because I don't have a great BMW contact. So, and I don't have as far as dealers either. So that's going to come down to whenever those start popping into the used dealers that I work with. I do want to review one, especially a manual one. So it's just a matter of waiting until one hits the used market that is in my network of dealers that I work with. But I do, because M3s have always done very well for me views wise, and I definitely want to. So that is a priority for me. It's just I haven't had an opportunity, but once I can get my hands on one, I absolutely will. But nothing planned currently. And Dave says, also like the 5th gen Camaros, my choice would be a manual convertible. Nice, yeah, that is. The convertibles are great too. And Car Guy 6 said, if you were to continue weekly updates, how would you do them? Yeah, I mean, there's really no way. That's why, I was trying to find a way. And every alternative or workaround just didn't seem, as good as, what I wanted it to be. Like I said, really the only way it would be feasible is just to do it, like this, where I just, instead of me talking with you guys, I would just pull up, Motor One and Car Buzz and just like read articles to you guys, or and just give a few of my thoughts on it off the cuff. It's from a time standpoint, because for me it's just time. I'm just so overbooked and so maxed out. Man, it'll make for a real interesting book someday if I'm ever important enough to do an autobiography or something. It's, man, the amount of late nights, because I've been for the past few weeks here working on the Car Buzz stuff and doing the weekly update and doing all the car reviews. And I've been working till midnights basically every night for the past 2 weeks. And even like I've been so jam packed that like I worked today. I filmed a car review today. I filmed a car review yesterday. So I'm like, sometimes I'm even working on the weekends. If not during the day, then definitely at nighttime. It's just been a ton. So that's, for me, time is my biggest problem right now. Is I just do not have enough time in the day or in the night for that matter. So, some of these nights, like to get the expedition video done that you guys saw, that was an embargo thing. I posted that. That was a 6 a.m. embargo on Tuesday morning. I was up till 2 a.m. on Monday night into Tuesday morning to get that video done by 6 a.m. Just because, again, I had other stuff I had to do on Monday. Just, again, Car Buzz stuff and doing all this other, stuff and filming stuff. And I'm just so maxed out. And so that's really why, the weekly updates had to go, because it just took too much time. So anything that's, super quick is the only way that would ever be possible. And I tried a live weekly update actually when I was on a trip a few months back. I don't know how many of you remember that, but I did try, like, hey, like, I have the articles up here. I'm just going to do it this way because there's no other way for me to do this update otherwise. And I wanted to do a weekly update, so I just tried that out. Didn't seem like it got very many views and just didn't do super well. So that's why that didn't happen a second time. So yeah, there's really no other way to go about it, unfortunately, in my mind at least. And Colby says, literally listening to this with my YouTube Premium while I'm prepping a Cayo Perico heist with to do with my boss later tonight. Nice. Well, yeah, I'm glad you're able to do that listening there with YouTube Premium. Again, I definitely by no means want to push any kind of paid YouTube crap on anybody, but it is nice to be able to listen to YouTube videos, I think. So yeah, maybe there's some promo they run or something. I think they last year had like a Black Friday thing or something like that. So maybe wait till then, get a deal or something. I don't know. Unfortunately, I wish YouTube bundle that into memberships, because that's something that other YouTube creators have been saying they'd love to see, is like members should have premium, at least for the channel. Like, like if you're a member, like there should be a tier, maybe even if it's a higher tier or something, where it's like you don't get ads on this channel because you're a member of the channel, or you can listen to just my videos audio only because you're a member, or things like that. And I think that's a really cool idea. The thing is, like, that costs YouTube, because then that's someone who maybe isn't going to buy a YouTube Premium membership, and that money would be going to us, and you can't have that. It's got to go to YouTube. So I mean, the cuts they take even on like the membership stuff, I think for every $5 membership, it's like I get like $3.50 of that, and they take a cut. The super chats and stuff, they take a cut on all that stuff, but they just integrate it better than everybody else. So it's like, I can do a Patreon, but how many people are going to go off of YouTube out of a video versus joining here is a lot easier. I know many of you that are diehard supporters would absolutely go to a Patreon page, but like, when I was deciding this, back when I did the memberships 3 years ago, I was like, what's going to be the best chance of success? And it's going to be the built-in thing with YouTube. Even if they take a bigger cut, it'll probably be more successful that way. And I like the integration we have here with the member posts, and again, the priority answering and all these things. It makes it really nice, versus Patreon. I have no clue who's a member, aside from trying to remember, all the names, which I'm not good with remembering names. So that would be tough. But, let me see here. Mr. 705 says, I listen to more YouTube in the car driving these days. I don't have time to watch everything, but a lot of things don't need to be watched. They can just be listened to. Yeah, I mean, and it's so funny how things have gone full circle, because me being a history nerd, like radio shows were wildly popular before TV became popular in the 50s. Like everyone sat down and listened to radio shows, and like now podcasts are like those murder mysteries that they did in the 1940s on radio are now like, it's like the same exact thing 80 years later. It's so funny how there's an appeal to just listening to stuff for sure. And so I'm glad you're enjoying that as well. And that car guy says, I might as well start coming here now, since the weekly updates are no longer going to be a thing for now, hopefully, at least. Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a great alternative for those of you who have the time and want to hang out and hear me ramble about cars. Andrew says, BRC or GRD6. I like the way the GRD6 is set up better with the suspension. It's a little more oversteery, a little less safe with the suspension tuning than the BRZ is. BRZ has a slightly softer ride, though, but I personally prefer the GRD6. And Rich, thanks for stopping by. And B. Mitchell says, one of my friends passed away last year. I'm sorry to hear that. And I've been helping with his estate. Turns out he had a bunch of bug out bags, 20 plus, all of them with various small airline bottles of booze, mostly Windsor. Wow, that's an interesting collection there. That's funny. And let me see, also lots of vodka. He says, I'll have to send you a dozen or two. Granted, they were about a decade old. Yeah, it might not be the best. I'm weird about very old stuff, just from a consumption standpoint, but could be cool from a collector standpoint. And Gladys says, are you taking a WRX TS or a Golf R? And how is the NVH on the WRX? NVH on WRX is not great, in my opinion. Golf R, I think, is actually much better. Between those two, I'd go Golf R. I don't love either of those choices, honestly, but I would go Golf R. It's just because you get so much more car for your money. That's the bottom line, and I like having the creature comforts. You don't get those in the TS. And Golf R just also, is, in my opinion, actually a slightly better manual in some ways. The WRX manual is pretty good, but I like having auto rev matching. Call me whatever, but like I just like having that. You don't have that in the WRX, and you have that in the Golf R. So I go Golf R. Although I think if I'm going Golf R personally, I don't know. I haven't driven the new Mark 8.5, but Mark 8 is nice. I think I actually prefer Mark 7 better though. And again, if I had that kind of money to spend, I just would buy other stuff anyway. But between those two, I'd probably go Golf R. Let me see. That card also says BMW, Mercedes, Mini, and whoever else isn't sending you press cards needs to step up. Yeah, but I can't blame them. I don't get a lot of views, and so it's a lot of money and time and all that to send a car up. They have to send a driver 4 hours from DC to drive up, drop off the car, and then drive 4 hours back in something else. It's an 8 hour. I mean, that's literally an entire day's work for someone just to bring me a car. And so I understand it's not something that everyone wants to do, and I completely understand the car companies that don't. But there's a lot of car companies that have no problems doing that. So it's just kind of interesting how those policies are with some of these companies. It's also same deal. Like, Aston Martin said, like, we'll send you cars. And like, once Aston Martin said they'll send me cars, I'm like, okay, well, now no one else really has an excuse. Because if Aston Martin is spending the money and putting the miles on these amazing exotics to just bring them to me and just so I can drive them, like, no one else really has an excuse. And so that was funny because Aston kind of approved me right around the same time that I asked Bentley again. Like, once Aston said yes, I was like, well, I know Bentley has a fleet, because Sophion from Berlin Reviews is only a couple hours away from me, and he gets Bentleys. He's like, yeah, you should send him an email and see if they can send you cars. And I sent him an email, and they were still like, you're not quite what we're looking for, even though I'm such a Bentley fan. I said that too in my email. I'm like, I love these things. Like, I'd love to cover them. It's probably not going to be me bashing Bentleys. Like, I really like them a lot. But there's like, oh, you're not quite what we're looking for. And I think at some point they mentioned the mileage excuse as well, but I think they just don't want to send me cars for whatever reason. Again, it's fair, but it's like Audi sends me cars, Volkswagen sends me cars, Aston Martin sends me cars. But, again, I don't ever want to feel entitled because, again, I don't get a lot of views. It's not something I ever want to expect, but it is kind of funny to see the differences. Like, well, these people think it's okay to spend the money and the time, but others don't. But that's why I was so floored when Aston said yes. And sounds like they will continue to send me stuff whenever they do get more stuff in here on the East Coast. But and I'm okay with that because if I have to miss out on one or the other, I'd rather have Aston than Bentley, I think, anyway. But let me see here. Colby says, anyone remember Matt's 300 SRT review? I was like 13 when that came out, and he thought that was the coolest car. It was amazing. I still love those things. I'd love to have another blast in one of those. Yeah, that video, that thing still gets like not a ton of views, but I think that still gets like 25 to 50 views a day, which for a video that old is pretty impressive, considering especially the thumbnail's crappy. I've tried to spruce up some of those old thumbnails, but there's only so much you can do with the original stuff there. And so it's but people still are watching. I think it's 1.2 million views or something now at this point. I mean, it's definitely one of the top 10 performers, I think, there. And I mean, it was a lot of fun. But Cam says, I guess he's back 2 weeks in a row. Thanks for stopping by, Cam, and I hope you're doing well. And let me see. D Fillins says, shout out to Suworks fan for sharing your love and passion all these years. In 2016, I purchased a Mustang GT completely as a result of watching your reviews and drives. Thanks for the memories. Well, thank you so much for all the support all these years. And that's awesome that you're able to get a Mustang as well. Hope you're still enjoying yours. It's so funny how I think there were a lot of us really that, maybe we're coming out of the BRZ days and stuff like that and wanted more power. And I know there were a few people that we all did the same kind of thing of going up to the Mustangs there. And great cars. And I still miss my Bullet very much. Darnell said, hey, Matt / Matt Chat. Hope everyone had a great week. Proper summer weather here in Louisiana has arrived. Nice. Well, hope it doesn't get too hot there for you, but thanks so much for stopping by here. And I think if you guys want, for the last half an hour here, I am going to try and I'm going to go to the member questions here, but I think Beth is open to possibly joining if you guys want to have her hang here for the last half an hour or so, we can have her stop by, and we can just go off topic here a little bit if you guys want. Totally up to you, but let me know if you want. Give me a thumbs up or heart or whatever there if you want, and we can see. Cam's excited, and yeah, Cam was, I think, one of the ones that's been asking for another Beth cameo here. So I'm happy you're here, Cam, and so maybe she can stop by. See, we got a couple hearts there. All right. Okay, so yeah, we'll see if she stops by here in a minute or two. But in the meantime, I'll keep on going through the member questions here so we don't miss out on those. Michelle says, I've been watching your channel since I was 17. I'm now 25. Time really flies. That's awesome. Thank you so much for all these years. Yeah, it is one of those things where it is kind of crazy to think about just how long this has all been going and how long we've all been, in this community together. And yeah, it's really fun. So thanks so much for all the years of support, though. And Vishal says also, how come other brands like Honda, Hyundai, etc. are able to keep a V6 around, but Toyota couldn't? The thing I miss from our 21 Highlander is that V6. Otherwise, we're happy with the TX as a family hauler. Part of the move is, obviously, again, the emissions stuff. And I think it's just Honda or Toyota also just wanted to go further. I think, Toyota is fine with, being known as the company that's super reliable, but I don't think I'm just speaking for them. I don't know if this is actually how they feel, but, I think they might have maybe gotten tired of always being, the thing that had the old engines and the old stuff. And I think they wanted to be a little more cutting edge. We see this with their styling, taking more chances, the performance stuff here the past 10 years and, really standing out more there. I think it would be just something that they probably just eventually wanted to, just be a little more interesting there. With that, obviously, maybe they're regretting it, especially now they don't have to worry about the emissions regulations, for the next few years. But, I think there's that. Also, you have to think Toyota does a lot more sales than Honda globally. Toyota is gigantic globally versus Honda is big, but they're not as big as Toyota. They're actually quite smaller than Toyota. And you look at even just the lineup Honda has, a lot simpler, a lot less models than what Toyota offers. And so, when you're on a smaller scale, you have the hybrid stuff in Honda that maybe, since they have such a high share, especially now, of the hybrid CRV, hybrid Accord and stuff, and forcing people into that before, any of these other companies really did. I think, that was just kind of their approach. And also, when you look at the difference between V6 and 4-cylinder, there isn't a big difference there. You're right as far as, how much is really being gained. But I think that they just, also saw with Toyota the better drivability. You get in a V6 Pilot and you get into a Grand Highlander. It's so much punchier. Go test drive both of them back to back. You got the TX, same deal there. You get in the TX, just for kicks sometime, go hop in a Palisade, go hop in a Pilot. It's a lot less responsive. The Turbo 4 is definitely the better choice around town. Like, undeniably, like, having the low end torque, it's so much better. So I think that, it's drivability stuff, a slight emissions improvement, but just trying to also move the ball forward a little bit instead of just having all the same stuff forever, So, I think that's probably part of it. You have to move all the stuff off that chair. Sorry. Beth is slowly making her way into the house. I think the cats wanted to join you. So for the cat fans here, they can they can see that as well. Sorry, all my crap. It's gonna be there's Pippa, one of our two Maine Coons that we have. She's how old is she now? 7 or 8?
I don't know.
Something like that. We're horrible with their birthdays.
Oh my gosh, today's her birthday.
Is it?
Oh no, it's tomorrow, I think.
I thought it was June, or is June Daisy?
That's Daisy.
Okay, that's our other cat.
Pippa was born on the royal wedding when Harry and Meghan were married.
That's where she got her name from the breeder. She did all the royal names. And I see Cam also says, I've been watching since I was 9. Now I can always get my permit. That's awesome. And yeah, best of luck with that. I actually want to get out. Okay. Cats are fickle. They're like, oh, let's be all over you. And then switch. Yeah. And let me see. Maybe Gaming says, what classic car would you like to own? Mine would be a second-gen Volkswagen Golf or a Golf Cabriolet. I'd love to have a classic Mustang. I'd love to have all kinds of classic stuff. The chair is making an entrance. Beth is being dramatic.
What? I'm not being dramatic. I'm
Like
just
slowly bring the chair in. Now here, I'll try and figure. It's been a while since we've done this. Maybe I can. Oh, you're leaving it open.
What?
For them to come and go.
No, well,
because Daisy's probably gonna want to try and come in too.
Well, I don't know.
We usually have the door closed, so I'm not too loud for our daughter. But, there we go. All right.
What?
How's it going? Thanks for stopping by. I didn't know you were gonna be here tonight. No,
See you later.
I'm just surprised. So yeah.
Hi, I just figured I'd join because I've heard a lot of comments about me not being around enough. So sorry.
Here she is.
I'm just busy all the time.
Yeah.
When Matt's doing this, I'm doing laundry or like a million other things.
Getting ready for the week, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure many of you probably get ready for the week and just probably listen to this in the background. So yeah, and so I guess we'll wait for.
Can you see any of this now?
What? Yeah, I can still see the questions.
Why'd you move that over, like way over to the side?
What, the camera?
No, not the camera.
The thing, just so that like
the window.
Yeah, so I have the comments like really close to the camera lens, so that way it looks like I'm looking.
Oh yikes! I'm giving away
so it's not like me like looking over here, like reading and just like acting like I'm not in the same video with them. So,
well, now I can be really close.
There you go. Yeah. All right. So yeah, anyone have any questions for Beth or anything? Feel free, or you want to just hear her thoughts on whatever.
Hello, everyone.
And yeah, maybe Gaming also asked about classic cars. Also, I have a bunch of other like cars on the shelf here. Like any of those, I'd love to watch. Sorry, I just got another text about someone said watching stuff, but so like I'd love, like my great grandfather had a 57 Chevy. I'd love one of those. I'd love a Studebaker. I'd love so many various cars. A 59 Ford. I particularly love those. I love a 39 Plymouth. Just everything from basically the 40s, 50s are my favorites. All right, we got some good comments coming in here.
Yeah.
Go ahead, read them off.
I can't remember which video or live it was, but you mentioned some YouTuber movie that you and Beth were in, and I saw you walking in the background with a book bag. You guys are famous. I wouldn't say that I am, but Matt is.
No, I'm not either. No. I mean, yeah, we had a very short run for our movie careers here. But yeah, that was called Not Cool was the movie we met on. That's how we met. And I did a video on that too, or I posted a video about how Beth and I met. You can search how Beth and I met. I think it's something like that, and it's the whole story of that. So we don't have to rehash all that here. But yeah, it's it's funny you saw us in the background there. But yeah, there is a video also, like for anyone who wasn't aware of this, there's a video that's called like Fun Fact I Was in Movies or something as an extra. And you can go watch that video if you want to hear all the movies that I was in. I think I mentioned some of the ones you were in as well. We kind of touched on your experiences there too.
Yeah, honestly, I don't even know.
Hanging with John Krasinski and all that.
Matt Damon.
Yeah, Matt Damon, yeah.
They know me personally, so they're on my phone. I just save them for a rainy day.
Right, yeah, so you can flex and like, look, who's in my contacts. Yeah. Let me see here. So
that's why I'm never around here.
Yeah, just hanging out with John Krasinski all the time.
No, well, all of them. I just hang out with everybody.
You just want to hang out with Emily Blunt anyway. You just hang out with her.
Yeah.
But Dave says, I still remember Matt's desk scene, but I forgot the movie. Yeah, that's Abduction. Yeah, with Taylor Lautner. And Vishal asking about, what do you think about the Aston that we had?
Oh, I thought it was pretty cool. The only time I got to drive in it was when our daughter was asleep. So it was at night. So I didn't get the full experience per se because it was dark and everything was black and
So you couldn't see the
everything.
interior. Yeah.
But we did have a nice race on the highway with a
Potentially, this is a hypothetical story that may or may not be fact.
Oh. Okay.
Not a race. It wasn't a race.
It wasn't a race. He just got excited.
We played around. What was it? Is it a?
I have no idea.
Oh,
what car it was.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
We were cruising. It was a GTC4 Lusso Ferrari, which is like one of my favorite Ferraris.
I remember.
And I was like, hey, look, I can pretend to be rich for the night too. And like, just like, I was just kind of cruising with him at some elevated speeds. We actually did not actually race. Like it was.
Oh yeah,
not
John
like
Krasinski is Jim from The Office. Yes.
Yeah. But that was really cool to be like in one of my favorite cars next to one of my other favorite cars and pretending like I actually belong alongside a Ferrari. That was a fun little thing. But yeah.
Yeah,
so you liked it though, right?
Yeah, I liked it. I loved the color, and I was bringing our daughter home from school. I like had picked her up, and I was driving home, and the press car guy was leaving the neighborhood, and I was like, "Goodbye."
Yeah, that one was hard to say goodbye to. I did not want to see that thing leave.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope they send me another one soon because man,
it was fun.
That was a special week.
It was fun, and like I feel like everyone was like really like freaking out. Like we went to do rolling shots and Matt drove past him and I was in the camera car behind him and we were like leaving our neighborhood and there was a kid that was like like losing his mind because he like knew what it was, which was crazy. But
yeah, there was a lot of good reactions. And also that's like one of those cars where like everyone that like personally like knows me that's around here like was like I want to ride. So I was so busy. I mean, I'm not complaining. It's giving people joy rides in that car is a great way to spend time. But as I was mentioning earlier, like I'm so overbooked with like all the other stuff I have to do on the channel in here that like I didn't have a lot of time. So it was a little stressful trying to like fit everyone in for a ride, even though it was very fun. But
he fit the most important people in for rides for sure.
Yeah. All the people that really didn't want to have them miss out because it's something you do want to share with people when you have that incredible opportunity. And so I was able to get a lot of people in for rides for that. That was fun. Like taking my dad for a ride, and that was, a special thing again because he's obviously been there since the beginning, and it was very cool to kind of because I really think that was like one of the real high points so far of my YouTube career here, and so being able to have other people experience that was cool.
My dad's really tall, so did he even fit in the
car?
Did
fit in it. Yeah, that was that was funny. He's how tall is he?
6'4".
Yeah. And he did fit though. So pro tip, if you are tall, you can fit in Advantage. And Ronan Wild with Milwaukee Buck, thank you so much for a super chat. He says, I'd love to have a 67 Lincoln Continental. Yeah, the Continentals, all the Continental, like every generation of Continental has appeal in my opinion, but especially those 60s ones. Yeah, so cool. And thank you again for the super chat. And let me see. Dave says verifying the speedometer accuracy at higher values, right? Right. Yeah, it's all hypothetical. He says you guys better watch out for when I pull alongside your Aston and my grandma's 03 Accord.
Oh yeah.
Watch out. He's got the V6. There you go. Yeah. Well, don't try and race me with a Fiat because you'll totally win. So you ever see me in a little red Christmas ornament on the highway? You know that you will definitely win any races. And let me see other questions here.
We call it the tiny meatball. Did you tell them that?
Yeah, the Italian meatball, spicy meatball. Yeah. I don't think I've shared the other nicknames. It just kind of goes between one and the other, basically.
Yeah.
Was there? I think there's one other one too. I can't remember. But let me see. Mr. TPA Florida says, was Beth into cars before she met you, or did she grow into cars after meeting you?
I think I grew more into it. I definitely had, I guess, like an appreciation of cars. I liked cars growing up. I remember just really being like, ooh, that car's cool. And like in elementary school being like, ooh, this is the car I want when I'm older and like that kind of stuff. So I think I always enjoyed cars, but it was never like my thing. Like I don't care. but I did like I got my Ford Fiesta and I literally only got it because it was green. So that could probably say a lot about me. So there you go.
Yeah. Since then you now have a little bit more of a requirement for like
Well, I
what
have so
cars
much
do you
more of a
want?
knowledge
Yeah.
of cars now, so
But like your dad
it's a
had
little
some
bit
cool
better.
cars too. Like he had like the
Yeah.
Saab,
Yeah.
and like I think you were kind of exposed to fun cars a little bit more so than the regular person that only has a minivan growing
Yeah,
up.
my dad got a Saab convertible for his midlife crisis. And so that was really fun. My sisters and I always would like ride in the back, and it was so fun.
Yeah. Let me see. So Michelle says, Beth, do you drive the Fiat?
I haven't yet. I might, but
I told her she totally could if she wants to. Yeah.
I don't know if he means that.
No,
though.
I never.
He wouldn't
She's
let
salty.
me drive the Bullet.
Yeah, she's salty about the Bullet because she knows how to drive a manual. She's not a professional pro because you can't be unless you drive one on a regular basis. It's just something. It's hard to be smooth with a manual unless you know the catch point of that car and stuff. But yeah, so she's still salty about that. But the Fiat, obviously being an automatic. And
I don't know if I'll ever drive the Fiat, but I think the good thing is because he was in between the red and the rose gold, and we saw a rose gold Fiat, and I said immediately no. Well, him driving around in a rose gold Fiat would be like a no.
So we need some background for that one. So the one dealer I was talking to, the Fiats, you can get the 500e in it's called the Inspired by Beauty trim. But the thing is, those ones have, I think, heated seats, there's actual leather, a little bit of a nicer interior. They have adaptive cruise and a couple other things. But the one dealer, it seemed like they were going to do a similar deal for both. And I was like, well, if it's not too pinky, if it's just like a bronzish kind of rose gold, but it is.
Pink.
Yeah,
I would have loved it.
But I was like,
pink car, but not for him.
If it's cheap enough, I'm comfortable enough on my masculinity to be okay with that, especially considering I wouldn't drive it that often anyway. But it ended up being, I really wanted red anyway. I think especially for an Italian car, I was like, I really wanted it to be red. So I always wanted the red anyway, but if the deal was amazingly better on the rose gold, I probably would have taken that, but you weren't into that.
For it being his car though, if it was my car, like I said, it would be fine, but not for him. Yeah. You're not a pink guy.
Well, I mean,
you can like pink, it's fine.
Yeah. But
anyone can like any color, that's fine. Please don't
yeah.
I love everyone.
Anyway, Austin, thank you for a super chat. He says, hey, Matt, as alternative to weekly updates, you should read our car's news posts for discussions in the live chat. Could be fun.
Oh, that could be fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Doing news posts be fun. I've also kicked around the idea of just reading other posts online and just getting my reaction, whether it's forum posts, Facebook posts, because there's some really interesting Facebook pages and some crazy car stories I see on Facebook and stuff. And just kind of reading stuff I see.
I'm not canceled. Jesus.
But so that is a potential content idea that I am considering someday, especially if reviews really start to go downhill, or if again tariffs get to a point where no one's buying a car. That is a potential pivot, is going into other car content, just stuff I see online.
Or I just take over the channel.
There you go.
And then
you would
gone.
You would get way more views than me if you did the reviews. I mean, there's people would much rather watch you do a review, I'm sure, than me. As far as you're much easier on the eyes.
I would give you no information. I'd just be like, this is the car. Here it is.
Yeah. That's, people have always said they wanted you to do a driving portion in the reviews back when we did the interior reviews more often. But it's I've always told people you would just be like, it's fine. Because I'll ask her how do you think this rides compared to the thing we had last week? And she'll be like, oh, I don't know. I'm like, okay. So it's I couldn't get anything out of that. So it's just, barking up the wrong tree there, I think. But you see, Michelle says, yes, reading posts from our car subreddit would be interesting, I think. Yeah. And there's other channels that do that kind of thing, not with our cars, but with other subreddits. So yeah, I feel like our cars, our cars is a little more. I messaged their moderator a year or so ago saying, hey, I'd love to do an Ask Me Anything on our cars. And they're like, you don't interact on the community enough. So you're not welcome to do and ask me anything. I'm like, okay, fine. I just thought it'd be kind of interesting to, tell people how press cars work or, those types of things. And they were not into that. So I'm a little nervous about covering our car stuff and having them be like mad at me for that, but it is public domain. So I don't think there's any, expectation that I couldn't do that. But, that's the only reason why I haven't dabbled in that yet. And also, again, just so busy with everything else. But that is something I'm considering, for the future. If not our cars, again, there's some other really cool Facebook pages that have interesting stories. I think just covering stuff even off Reddit would be really a fun thing to do. Again, if I had to pivot away from reviews, or find something else to do in addition to that. But because those would be easy and quick to make too. It'd just be me literally just like rambling and be like, hey, look at this crazy story, and and that's it. Anyway, looks like Cam's also asking, has Beth ever driven on a racing simulator?
No.
Like a sim kind of thing.
Well, like at what, Dave and Buster's? No.
More like the more like, I think they're talking like the more
intense ones. Yeah, no.
Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, I've even only done that a few times.
Know. Yeah. I don't even know where you would go do that.
Yeah, like I did one when I was.
Anyways.
I did a thing with.
Nope.
Yeah, you haven't.
Yeah.
But I've literally only done like 3 or 4 like things like that, I think, in the past. And it's usually like car companies on these events sometimes have like, hey, look, you can drive our car on the racetrack or whatever. And like I do that and it's cool, but I'm always usually terrible at it because most of those racing simulators, the cars are on racing tires. Anyone who's actually driven on racing tires before, it's like you have very little forgiveness. You're like grip and then you have like nothing. Like there is no transition, there's no forgiveness. It's like it's either sticking amazingly or they're hockey pucks, and so it's like I always do terrible in racing sims because I always go past those limits of grip and end up just immediately out in the wall. So
I did the airplane game.
Which one?
Like the airplane,
the flight simulator thing?
Yeah.
What, like on your dad's computer?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, that was like that was probably like Flight Simulator 90s. Like 98 or something. Yeah, like Windows 98. Yeah, that's no. I don't even know if that's.
I liked crashing simulator. Them. That was fun.
Yikes.
But, oh my gosh, jeez.
But
no, I always tried. I did play that game really well. I always did really
until
well.
You crashed.
But then I would crash and it was bad.
Yeah.
But he had like one of those cool like joysticks.
Oh, he had a legit thing.
Yeah, he did. Because he liked playing that to like lower his stress when he worked.
Nice. That's cool. And let me see. Car guy says, gotta love Dave and Buster's. Vishal says Beth could drive the 500 hybrid manual if she won't drive the 500e. Yeah, so Fiat is doing a gas 500 again, and they're doing a hybrid version with a manual. So maybe if they send that to the States and they send me a press car version, then you can drive that manual Fiat. But I think you would just be happy to drive mine. And I even said, I think like as a back, so the Mach-E, it's not like the Mach-E is a huge car, but like I told her, like if you're ever out on your own for some reason, and you're driving, without our daughter, like it could be an easy thing for you to just hop in that if you.
Yeah, I don't know. His cars always feel off limits to me.
I literally told you, like, whenever I got it, I'm like, you can drive it anytime you want.
I know, but I feel like I just like my car.
Yeah, and it's one of those things you guys are probably relate. You're used to your car and everything's set up the way it is and all that. So, yeah. But let me see. Yeah, he also says, I don't know how Beth would feel about 90 horsepower. Yeah, I mean, I feel like you usually. Like you use the power in the Mach-E, but you're never like flying around or anything. So you'd probably be fine in the Fiat. I think it's not that slow.
What horsepower?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, unless I'm driving like on the highway.
Yeah, but even on the highway, like it's pretty fine. Like it's not actually that bad. Because I think with the electric one, like it's 116 horsepower. It's like 162 pound-feet of torque though, so it is like decent torque, so it's not bad, especially electric torque being instant and pretty good. And Immutable Do says, just checking in. Cheers. Thanks for stopping by, Immutable Do. Thanks so much for hanging out, and thank you for continuing to be a member as well. I really appreciate it. And let me see. B. Mitchell said, inspired by Los Angeles. That's one of the other Fiat trips. He says, only goes 4 miles per hour, stopping and starting. Right? Yeah, on the I-5. He's getting nowhere. Excuse me. And Cam said, I thought the manual one had 90 horsepower. The rumor was that it's only going to have 70 horsepower. We will see. But yeah, going to be very slow for that version. And Michelle says, any recent press cars your daughter was excited about?
She's always excited about the vans. Anytime we have a van, she's like, I'm down. But then she like will lose her mind if the vans don't have a TV. So she got like very used to van. Like we had 2 vans with TVs, and she was like so excited because they had a TV. She doesn't have like a tablet or anything that she uses on the regular. So I think that's like super exciting
for her.
But she does kind of like the sportier cars. She always loves the different colors of cars and very much appreciates those. But
yeah, she oftentimes will hop in the first time after I've put the car seat in. She'll be like, "Ooh, this is cool!"
And like, look at the seats.
Yeah. And she has opinions about panoramic moonroofs because sometimes she's like, there's no roof in this one, I can't see out. But then other times she's like, close it, I don't want to see out. So
she sometimes is like, I don't like the sun.
Yeah, so panoramic roofs with cover
are good,
I feel like pretty good for her.
Yeah, but we don't have one in my car, so it's always, she's never complained about it though.
Yeah.
So.
She does like the performance vehicles though. Like she enjoys the accelerations, and she really had fun in the WRX that we had because I had to put her car seat in the middle. Usually I put her car seat on the side, on the passenger side, just because it's easier to get her in and out and easier to mount and stuff. But we had to put it in the middle because the headrest in the WRX, you can't put a top tether anchor without crushing the rear headrest. It doesn't come out. And so I didn't want to ruin the headrest in this press car. So I had to put it in the middle where the headrest does pop out still. So I had her in the middle there, and that was really fun for her because it was like her being in the middle. So she had a way better view of everything, and it was a manual. So she was able to like watch me change gears and like do everything and feel a little more involved. And also that car isn't super huge. So she was pretty close and kind of in on the action there. So I think she really enjoyed that one, especially. But yeah, that's she enjoys them though. She's always commenting on the colors and I think she actually has a lot of fun with it. And it's kind of a fun thing.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be something that's super interesting when she's like in school full time and like being like, what, you don't have cars that are different in your driveway every week like I do. Like I'm always like, she's like literally been in hundreds of cars like at this point, and it's crazy. Yeah,
it's fun. And I see Mr. TPA Florida also says, what's best favorite car she's reviewed with you and the least liked?
Oh,
I feel like you probably don't even remember.
I'd say my least liked, I feel like it's when we were like, I think it was a Kia, and I think I was really upset about the up down.
Oh, the seat was really high.
Yeah, and I couldn't put it down. And we were at the one church where we used to vote.
Oh, yeah. You're doing the interior review. Yeah, I can't remember.
Because we were doing the interior review like in the dark almost. The sun was going down.
Yeah, I can't remember what that was.
I think it was a Kia or a Hyundai.
Yeah, I don't remember what
it was. It was like, it was a little one. The Kona. Was it a Kona? No, that's.
No, yeah, I don't know. Or maybe it was.
I think it was. It was like.
Maybe. I don't know if we did an interior review on the new Kona though. Maybe it was the old one.
It was the old one. I think it was. Because it was that size. It was like small.
Yeah, because for a while
like
there.
Size.
Yeah, a lot of these passenger seats don't go down, and it was just like you were sitting up really high, and you were like annoyed that
I was very upset about it. I think that's the only one I can remember. Is I was like, we were sitting there trying to do it in the dark, and I was just like, I can't. Like this is so high.
Yeah, although there was the Chevy Trailblazer, we did that one when the sun was setting.
Maybe
that was a Trailblazer. The Chevy Trailblazer.
Okay.
And it was like a small little car anyway. And you were sitting up super high. Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, that's what it was.
It must have been like around the same time as all those other ones.
Yeah, I think it probably was.
Because we were getting a lot of those at the same time.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I'd say that was probably like my least liked. Yeah.
Chevy Trailblazer is a good least liked vehicle.
I just feel like it was a constant, like we kept getting these like cars, and I was just like, this is like, there's so much that could be better about this, that I was just just very upset.
Yeah.
I don't know which one I liked the best. I mean, I feel like I obviously haven't done any reviews, and a lot of them I don't even get to sit in, like, and get to be in, so I don't get to appreciate any of them
Just because we have like multiples, and so we only have one extra car seat. So like one car seat's always in Beth's, Maki.
Well, sometimes there's even 2-seaters that like,
well, yeah,
I can't go in because like who's gonna watch the kid?
Yeah.
Like, so
right. But like, yeah, so we usually, like, some of these weeks I get a 2 or 3 press cars. I only put the car seat in whichever one is the most family friendly, and then the other ones are just for me to drive for errands on my own or whatever. So that's what she's saying, as far as like she doesn't go in them. Like, she could go in them.
Yeah,
it's just that like they're,
and then it's like, oh, I like haven't had time because I've been doing other things all week. But but I think I obviously didn't review it, and I wasn't in it like during the day too much, but like, come on, the Aston is probably like the coolest thing that could have ever happened, especially to Matt. Like, I'm so happy. I'm so excited that he was able to like be in like a dream car. Like, that's the coolest thing to me. And that means the most to me because he means the most to me. So I don't know. Sorry, I'm like not trying to be sappy, but like, for real, like, that's so cool, and something that makes him like the happiest, like also like fills my cup. I think it's so cool. And I'd say probably that.
Yeah.
Because that's, anyways.
You've been excited about some of the other like high end stuff, like we had the Range Rover and stuff like that, but you haven't really done reviews on any of these recently. So, yeah, but you've been a lot of stuff. I feel like any of the like roomy luxury cars where like you have enough space where you're not like crammed into the dash, so that
I think I tend to really like all of the luxury stuff a lot more than like the sporty stuff. I'm not like, I can drive like sporty, but like I don't like seats that are super constrictive, like that kind of stuff. I'm not into that. I like to relax and be comfy and like feel like I'm in luxury, Yeah. So I think that's kind of my thing.
All right. Well, we're at the 2-hour mark. We'll do a few more here, and then we can head on out. But let me see. So Steven says, did Beth attend any press car events? If so, what are your favorites and why? If not, which ones do you want to go to?
Well, I'm very upset because we were gearing up. Like, I pretty much bought a whole entire wardrobe because I was getting ready to like start going on press cars with him, or press oh my gosh, press trips with him. And it was January of 2020. And so then, everything went downhill and I didn't get to go on any press trips. And then of course, then I got pregnant. And so ever since then I really haven't been able to do any of that. And being a stay-at-home mom, I can't be away from her. And so, someday it would be really fun to go on those and help him out too, because I know that he's a one-man band with this stuff. And so I feel like I would love to help and enjoy going and helping him and going to these places and seeing everything that he gets to see. Like, he went to Hawaii a couple of years ago and I'm like, can't do that. I mean, we probably could have, but I had an under 2-year-old at that point, and I was like, I'm not having her deal with like a 6-hour time difference and
an 8-hour flight.
That would have been not fun for a baby. But someday I would love to do that. It would be really, really cool. Especially I'm super jealous of the European trips. I love Europe. I would go there probably every day if I could. I would probably live there. But
that Italy trip last year,
yes, I was upset about, but it was so short that like at the end of the day, I'm not like mad at him for going on these or doing anything, because he doesn't really get to enjoy it as much as he would like to either.
Yeah. And let me see here. Theodore's asking, hey Matt, when you discovered you were in love with cars, or when did you discover you were in love with cars? For me, it was playing with my brother's Hot Wheels cars. Yeah, I think for me, like video games, on my Super Nintendo kind of got me excited. Hot Wheels cars as well. I think I just always kind of was drawn to cars. I had the choices of car video games or football games, whatever. I mean, I played a bunch of different video games, but I think that was really, I think Gran Turismo, especially Gran Turismo 2, really kind of took it from just like, oh yeah, cars are cool, to like, oh wait, I can like learn horsepower numbers and I can do these modifications. I can do this stuff. Like, I think Gran Turismo 2 was my first real entry and like crash course into like what cars are about, and really I think advanced it beyond just the usual like, oh, cars are cool. So I think that was really the big change for me, and I still have that Gran Turismo 2 here. I've saved all these years because that is a very important thing to my whole like car journey there. And I'd love to someday. I haven't fired that game up, and it's probably been honestly 25 years at this point, something like that. I mean, it's been a long time. So I'd love to fire that back up again someday and see my old builds and all that stuff, all my old garage and everything. But let me see here. So last few questions. Cam agrees about the Trailblazer. Not a big fan of 3 cylinders. I see the car guy says it's a shame that it's a subcompact instead of the old big thing that it used to be, right? I see there's some or 3. There is some cool stuff. I think it's the sorry, trying to read the username there. Said I enjoy Beth's opinions. She has good taste.
Thank you.
Michelle says, kids love minivans. Even as a kid, I liked our 05 Chrysler vans, power doors, and it had the rear entertainment screen with the headphones remote control. Yeah. Your van didn't have TVs in it, right? Your parents' vans?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I think they did that on purpose.
Right.
That's to slum it.
Yeah.
But we all had like our little DVD players at one point. So that was fun.
And Rishi says that I watched the Imola GP. Nope, I didn't even know it was on. I'm so out of loop on motorsports. All right, so let me see here. There is some cool stuff. Also says when the Aston showed up, I did a double take. Yeah, it was really cool. Florida's asking, Matt, which car brand do you think will be gone within 5 years in the US? Mitsubishi's the top candidate in my mind. Let me see. And what are you going to do with all the new free time, Matt? Well, unfortunately, I won't have any free time.
0.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. So kind of like I mentioned in the weekly update, I am getting rid of the weekly updates because they just didn't make sense to keep doing. But that's because I can use that time to better do other things. So mostly, like I said, I'm going to be doing the articles for Car Buzz, and that's going to be what I'm going to be working on Thursdays and Fridays, is writing articles for them. My schedule is fluid and flexible, so sometimes I'll be on a press trip on those days, or I'll be doing something else channel related here. If there's a car that pops up at a dealership that I have to run out and review, maybe I'll work that in on a Thursday or Friday instead. But it's mostly just going to be just days for me to sit down and write for Car Buzz there. And so still same amount of time I'm putting into weekly updates, just getting paid much better. So, and doing something different too. I really enjoy the couple articles I've already written, and I'm looking forward to doing more of that. I think, the last little thing I'll mention here about the Car Buzz thing I didn't mention in the weekly update is I think I really enjoy the writing thing because, as many of you have been watching me for a decade or more, I have a lot of filler words. I'm not the best presenter. I'll be the first to admit that. And with writing, you remove all of my weakest aspects, I think, as far as doing the reviews. There isn't any fillers. It's more concise. It's more concise too, because I am very verbose, as everyone is well aware too. So it cuts out all the extra clutter. It cuts out the ums and the knows and all that stuff that I always say. Is allowing me to also think about stuff ahead of time. We said this is all off the cuff. Reviews are usually off the cuff. I don't have a script for anything. The weekly updates I had, my outline of stuff that I said, but like I never script a review. And so being able to sit down and be like, let me think of a good joke here I can put in for this paragraph, and really taking my time with that, I think is actually going to kind of present my opinions in the best way possible, because I have that luxury of time and thought, and thinking through things that I don't have whenever I'm, on video. So I think it'll actually hopefully be like a ultimate version of car content from me in some ways as well, just being the writing. And it also works better that way because then you can read it at your own pace. So if you like me talking a mile a minute, you can read it a mile a minute and, and get the same effect. Or if, you wished I would just slow down, I didn't always talk so
I guess
fast.
you've heard him enough.
Yeah, you can already probably, I'm sure, recreate my voice in your head when you're reading these things. So yeah, I don't know. I hope people enjoy it. We'll see, how it goes. And I mean, I don't know how long I'll do it for. It might be something I do forever. But I'm excited for that. And yeah, let me see. And so I think here about towards the end, there's a few more comments that came in, but I don't want to be too far over time here. So let me see. Cam says, is Beth friends with any of the other car reviewers or have met them?
I've only met one. I feel like.
Yeah, who did you meet? Because I'm trying to remember.
I forget. It was so long ago.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
I know them all. I feel like I have spoken through Matt to half of these people.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think of who did you ever? Well, you met
in North Carolina.
When in North Carolina?
At my cousin's wedding.
Did we?
Yeah.
What car reviewer was there?
He lives there. Oh, not a car reviewer, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know who you're talking about.
Okay.
I can't remember. I feel like you have met one of them though, but I don't know who it is. Sophian's been saying from Redline Reviews, he's been saying he wants to come to visit in Pittsburgh.
Oh yeah.
Sometime. So definitely hoping that because I think that it'd be really fun to have Beth and Sophian interact. So I think that'd be cool. So hopefully we'll do something with them at some point with Sophian and his husband. But other than that,
oh no, I did. Eric. Did I meet him?
Oh, you met Eric the car guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was when was
someone came here to Pittsburgh.
Eric the car guy came here to Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
and we went and got mayonnaise with him.
Yeah,
Eric the car guy, not a reviewer.
Sorry,
but he
everybody.
does...
Yeah, it's just car people.
Wow, yeah,
I'm
impressed you remembered that. But that was cool.
Yeah, so I met him, and then
for mayonnaise. I think that was it.
Yeah.
So that's the only one.
No, not Sub Kyle.
Yeah,
but I haven't met Sub Kyle. I did meet. I have met Chris Fix. I have.
That's it. Yeah.
That wasn't him that I'm talking about.
Yeah, but you did.
We hung out with his daughter.
With who? Chris Fix doesn't have a daughter.
I know, in North Carolina. I don't remember his name. I'm really okay.
Charles from Humble Mechanic.
Oh, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah,
I was like, there's a mechanic in there, but I couldn't figure it out.
So you've met Eric the car guy. You've met Humble Mechanic, Charles.
Yes.
And then you met Chris Fix.
Charles. That's it. Yeah. Okay. That's it. Thank you, everyone.
I mean, Chris Fix. Largest automotive YouTuber overall. So you have some serious.
Oh no, I haven't met Chris Fix.
No, I thought you did.
No, I didn't.
Didn't you for the New York thing? I could have sworn.
No, I wasn't in New York. I literally haven't been to New York since I was 15.
I could have sworn though that you did.
Was it in California? Guys, this is a lot. This is happening. No, I've seen his face in pictures.
Yeah.
But I haven't been able to post.
Obviously, that is a sworn secret still.
But no, I haven't met him. I meant
Charles and Eric.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
I didn't mean Chris. I meant the other. Is there another Chris?
I don't know. It's been a long time.
Sorry, guys. A lot of this stuff happened over 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So I'm just.
All right, I see Running Wild.
It's fine. You didn't cause anything. This is just a lot of brain power I don't have at 11 o'clock at night.
But Running Wild with Maki Bucky says, have you ever played Midnight Club Dub Edition? Yeah, I played that one a bunch as a kid. That was another Fantastic game. Yeah, I beat the whole game, went through the whole thing. Good game for sure. And thank you for the super chat. And so, all right, I think let me see. I think we've just about caught up, right? Let me see. There's some cool stuff. Says Alex on Autos as stuffy as he looks in his videos. Alex is really cool. I actually love hanging out with Alex because he is just a wealth of knowledge, and I always learn something new hanging out with Alex. And he's incredibly knowledgeable, and so yeah, it's he's one of I very much respect Alex and everything he does there. I see Mr. TPA says if Rady's Rats can make a husband and wife combo do the videos, you two could do as well. Yeah, I mean, as far as filming, yeah, Joe's wife, I mean, she is such a hard worker with filming him, and the two of them, they really.
I would love to help. I seriously would love to help, but I need childcare.
Maybe once our daughter's in grade school, we can work something out with the grandparents. We'll see to maybe do something someday. Let me see. What? Is there another one?
I'm just I can't figure out anybody's names, and it's so bad.
It's okay.
I know their faces and everything.
Chemical Pie says, wish you the best with the writing. I will miss the weekly update. It was my Friday routine. I know there's so many people's routines, and I feel bad that I couldn't keep it going. It's really
hard, but he's got to work on his health too, guys. I don't think you know how much he works. I haven't seen him at night. It's our daughter goes to sleep and then he goes to work, and he'll work till sometimes 1 or 2 in the morning. So I'm not even seeing him at night. It's crazy. So he works so hard, and he works really hard for this content, for you guys, for everybody, for everything. And so for us, he does so much for us, and it really sucks that, this has to go, but honestly, for his health, I want him to get some rest sometimes. And I want him to take care of himself, because he's really been burning the candle at both ends. And I don't want to be annoying, but I also want him to live a more healthy life and
work-life balance.
Yeah, just be able to relax more and feel more comfortable, and not be running ragged. I just want him to take care of himself, and I hope you guys can understand that, because he really does work really hard.
And and the writing is something I'll still hopefully be doing during normal business hours, or hopefully it's something that doesn't bleed into the nighttime stuff. Sometimes Thursday nights I'd be filming weekly updates at 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, and then spending all Friday editing it if it was, a long one, like some of them were. So it was a lot of work. And that's the thing, it's very hard for a lot of people to, if you're not someone who edits videos, to really, grasp the amount of work that sometimes can be, because you guys see the finished product, and it doesn't seem like it's too hard, but there's a lot of research that goes into that, and it's just a lot of stuff as well, and also all the administrative stuff people don't see. Sometimes I'm spending an hour trying to figure out scheduling for press cars. I'm trying to figure out flights for a trip I'm going on, all these other little things in the background that eat away at time. So it's not just me laser focused on, just editing, the whole time. There's some other things that always pop up. But let me see. So he's Ian B. Mitchell's comment.
I
don't know. So I think pretty much.
Wow, he's really gonna take it and run. That's for sure.
I'm just seeing, definitely not Scotty Kilmer. I see that car guy's asking. I've never met Scotty Kilmer, and I don't plan on it. So make a point to avoid that one. But let me see. And Cam, you're all good. I don't know if there's some miscommunication there, but no worries at all, Cam.
He meant when we were
confused. Oh yeah, no, you're good. Haven't seen the F1 movie with Brad Pitt. And Miss was asking how the little one's doing.
She's good. She just turned 4, and she's living her best 4-year-old life.
Yeah.
She is just wonderful. She's a ham. She has so much fun with all her little things she does every week. And Yeah.
Yeah, she's
just loving life
she's
for
the best.
herself.
Yeah. He also says, hope you reach 500,000 subscribers soon. That would be cool. Yeah, I hope so too. We'll see what happens.
Someday. It's been a while.
Yeah, subscribers don't grow very quickly anymore, but again, I'm just happy for the support I do have, and we'll see if someday it grows. YouTube is working on a new feature called Hype. I don't know if you guys have heard about that, where you'll be able to hype videos from creators that you want to see get more exposure, and you'll have kind of like how Reddit has, like points where you can upvote or give stuff the gold and like those types of things. So there's going to be like ways to boost videos from a viewer's perspective, and there's gonna be like a ranking board, and it's for anyone that's under 500,000 subscribers. So I will be eligible for that. So that'll be a way to try and get more exposure to the channel, hopefully here, and maybe get some new growth. We'll have to see if that feature works as well as they're promising it might. But yeah, yeah. And Cam's funny. Tim, it's funny too. Hi, the camera's Beth. And Fuchs says, I still believe in you, Matt. We all do. Have a good week, everyone. I agree. Hope everyone has a great week as well. And thank you all so much again for your support and all the hundreds of kind comments on the weekly update. I really appreciate it. And if I didn't respond, I've been going through comments, but I eventually got behind on them, but I'm going to make sure I go through and answer as many comments as I can there in the weekly updates. So if you left one with some feedback or some kind words, definitely stay tuned for my response if I didn't get to that yet. Yeah, so John Cargill says, I know the feeling of burning yourself out. Take care of yourself, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'll try my best. It's it's something, it's almost like weird to not work insanely hard because it's just something I'm so used to at this point. But I definitely, I would love to take my foot off the gas in that way and at least observe normal business hours again would just be a huge improvement on its own. So we'll see if I can do that.
Yeah, the amount of times he's like, wow, why is that guy mowing his lawn at 2 p.m.?
Must be nice. Yeah, the amount of people in the neighborhood that are like, on a Friday, they're done at 3 o'clock, or they have 3 weeks off for, vacation or, whatever. And I'm like, I have no paid vacation. If I want vacation, I got to work double time the week before to, make sure I carve out that content and, get that, to post up. Because, obviously you guys would be fine if I didn't post for a week. But as far as revenue goes, like, it's just, I don't get paid if I'm not posting videos. So, that's kind of why I got to keep that hamster wheel rolling, so but yeah, so all right, yeah, Mission Impossible comes out next week, Vishal says. Gonna go see it in Max. Nice. Yeah, I'm hoping to get all the Mission Impossible movies watched here at some point because I've never seen them. But Cam says about to make 800 accounts to boost Matt's channel. I appreciate that, but YouTube is very smart these days with the bots and stuff. They know when there's like duplicate accounts and fake accounts, so it's all good. I'm hoping the organic growth, just is the thing that gets better eventually.
Guys. Jeez,
anyway, so all right. Well, yeah, thank you all so much again. Hope you enjoyed the live stream here. And yeah, like we talked about earlier, maybe during a weekday here, I can do like an hour, like a little shorter one, kind of a midweek kind of thing at some point here. If I have some time, we'll work that in here in the future. Yeah, but if nothing else, looking forward to chatting with you guys next week. Stay tuned for all the Toyota coverage here coming up this week, all those new Toyota videos. And again, be lots of other YouTubers and other people there as well. So maybe there'll be some fun Instagram posts of a bunch of us hanging out, eating dinner or whatever. So stay tuned for all that. But anyway, thank you all very much. Once again, have a great week. Thank you again for your support, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.